The work will be remembered as one of the greatest moments of this planet.
Mr. Scout. I know you're still weighing whether to return to Lumon. But the mark I've come to know is happy.
Hello, is anyone there? Is the board on? It's Marquez from Macro...
What you all did was one of the most painful moments in the history of this company.
What the hell?
But the four of you have become known as the face of Severance reform.
Okay, so we're not in trouble?
I don't think so. Milchick said we're famous.
All of us equally, or one of us is like the star?
Now if you feel that you can't go on.
So what the hell did you guys see up there?
It's not our world up there.
And your life is filled with much confusion.
My Outie's wife died a few years ago. Except the woman is Miss Casey.
So what are you gonna do?
I gotta get her out of here.
Mark, your Innie said she's alive.
This is obscene.
I just want to be sure.
And your world around is crumbling down.
Why did you do this? What is this all about?
Do you know something about Gemma?
Mark, there'll be no honeymoon ending for you.
The work will be remembered as one of the greatest moments of this planet.
You don't value them. You fear them. We fear no one.
I'm tightening the leash.
If we let this happen to Miss Casey, who's gonna step up when it happens to us?
Now. Goodbye, Marquez.
Wait!
My name is Miss Huang. It's my first day here as deputy manager. Mark W.
Why are you a child?
Because of when I was born.
Hello. My name is Mr. Milchick. I manage the severed floor of Lumon Industries Branch 501. With me is our fellow in training, Miss Wong. Greet the viewer, Miss Wong.
Hello.
If you're watching this, you've recently made Severance a part of your workplace. As unsevered management, we're entrusted with interpersonal nourishment.
To this end, we employ rigorous orientation protocols. Here are the 127 steps to maximizing glee and enforcing a productive workplace. From there, secure camaraderie with a jovial round of ball game. Make sure the ball is well inflated and that the players achieve mutual fondness by the end.
May I? Consider augmenting the game with jokes, but mind professional boundaries, as crossing these may necessitate toxic work environments. Well, there you have it. Remember, managers, growth takes time, but happy workers bloom more quickly. To quote Lumon's founder,
The mouth which is busy smiling cannot bite.
And welcome welcome all to another edition of Severance Live Discussion Season 2, Episode 2. And I must say, I'm super enjoying Severance. I'm so glad that the show is back. It came around at kind of the perfect time. I love talking From, don't get me wrong, From really never gets old to talk about. But it is nice to kind of dive into something else, a new show that is completely fresh, completely original, a totally awesome concept, and just a great core group of characters with some really good writing behind them. It's not too often where shows of this high quality, in my opinion anyway, come around. Like, this is a very high quality show. So I'm so glad that we are going to be diving into all things Severance over the next few months here on the channel. And of course, we have Yellow Jackets right around the corner as well. So we have some really good shows that we're going to be diving into over the next few weeks. But tonight is about all things Severance Season 2, Episode 2, Goodbye, Mrs. Selvig. And I was talking to PM about this before we went live. And I really like how Severance has structured the beginning of season 2 so far. Episode 1 was pretty much solely all focused on the continuation of the Innie's storyline. And then with episode 2, we are pretty much predominantly focusing on just the continuation of the Outie's storyline, giving us that kind of complete picture of the full brunt of the aftermath of the Macrodat uprising that we saw at the end of season 1. We get to see how it affected the Innies, and now we're getting to see how it affects the Outies. So I loved episode 2. But what about you, PM? Did you enjoy episode 1 or 2 better?
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. It's really an amazing show. And for me, I think episode 2 was just amazing.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
really, it might just be episode 3, right? It seems like it just keeps getting better and better. I really like the way that the story is developing. I thought we would have to wait more for concrete answers, but no, we're getting a
Mhm.
lot of information.
We are getting a good amount of information. That's actually a very good point. I mean, I feel like we're so used to From, and we're so used to answers just being dragged out for years at a time, not really getting definitive answers until the payoff is great. Don't get me wrong, but they make you wait a little while. But I love how Severance has a nice dose of that kind of mystery aspect that we loved about From, but we're also getting the answers much faster on Severance. So it's really the best of both worlds in a sense. You get the good mystery, and you don't have to wait years to get the answers. We're getting answers as these episodes go along. And yeah, I think that's great. I think that's a great way that they've structured the show.
I couldn't agree more with the From connection. I do think with From, what's so funny is that like we're obsessed with it. We love it, right? The family is now the Sevies, but we do have kind of like PTSD. We have
Yeah,
PTSD about not getting answers and PTSD about leaks, and it really has like affected the way that we view shows. Um, but
yeah.
yeah, Severance is amazing.
It is. It really is such an amazing show, and I might probably sound like a broken record. I probably say this every week now, but I do totally understand now why we got so many requests to cover Severance, because it really is. It's really is a good show, and I just like unique concepts that are brand new, unique stuff that isn't based on stuff that pre-existing material or a reboot of another show or movie, or just the same old kind of ideas and tropes over and over and over again. This is a very fresh and new and original sci-fi show with a nice healthy dose of mystery, and it's really got a little bit of everything. I imagine, whatever your genre is, whatever kind of storytelling that you like, I imagine you'll probably be able to find something in Severance that you can cling on to and enjoy, whether it's a character, a plot line, something. It's really got a little bit of everything in a sense. Love that.
It really does. It really does.
Yeah,
And I have seen a lot of people who are connecting it to the real life.
yeah,
A lot of people work in an office setting. And so it's kind of cool to see the office setting in like a way where it is a little horrifying and mysterious. Because an office setting, when you think about it, or you explain to anybody, there's this amazing show, it's an office setting. They think boring, and
yeah.
it's not.
No, not at all. And that's the thing. Yeah, that's a good point. People, you describe office setting, and I imagine most people probably think of like The Office, like the comedy show The Office, which is
Mhm.
a very tongue-in-cheek version of a corporate office, nowhere near as accurate as Severance is. And that was something I was still to this day am incredibly intrigued to learn more about it, knowing that a lot of the stuff that we do see on the show is based in real world corporate America. Like some of these things actually really happen in the corporate space in that office room setting. And that's always going to be fascinating to me, knowing that they're drawing on real world stuff for the show, and to know that some of this stuff exists is it's crazy because some of the stuff we see is absolutely nutty, just completely nutty.
It is. It is. So I do see a lot of comments where people are connecting it to their own office parties, their
Mm.
own sort of like melon bars, and it's really interesting to see what goes on in other offices in America.
That's a good point. That's a good point. It kind of, paints a picture of what other people are going through in their day-to-day office life. Because it's like, again, it's like it's kind of like it's its own ecosystem in and of itself. It's a totally new, different world that I'm so unfamiliar with, but I love learning a little bit more about. And that's what we're going to do tonight. We are going to dive into everything Severance episode 2, season 2, episode 2. Goodbye, Miss Selvig. And we want to hear from you guys as well in the chat. What did you think of episode 2? What are you thinking of season 2 as a whole so far? We want to know what you guys think as well as we go throughout the night. And speaking of the awesome chat, let's see who we got in here, shall we? We got Kiwi Skirt. Welcome, Kiwi Skirt. And Kiwi just recently caught up on Severance. We got her to watch it, which was so awesome, and I guess she just recently caught up to where we are now. So I'm glad that you're aboard, Kiwi. Always awesome to see some more people hopping on to the Severance show, and more people to discuss it with. So I look forward to hearing your opinions throughout the night. Welcome, welcome. We got Ragnarok Falls in the house. What is up, Ragnarok Falls? Really enjoyed episode 2. Nice. Looking forward to seeing this footage Jeremy has. Yes, that is right. Some of you may have noticed the title of the live stream, which also has a subtitle to it. All new footage, which I do have, and I imagine it's footage that probably a lot of people have not seen yet, and it is brand new footage that was just released today, and it gives us a little bit of a sneak peek at some of the upcoming episodes that are going to be coming, and some interesting scenes that we have not seen in any of the other trailers yet. So it's a pretty interesting one. I mean, there was some pretty good scenes in there, wasn't there, PM?
There really was. I think that you guys are going to be surprised. I keep thinking about it, and I'm already in my head trying to decide what does it mean.
I know, and that's what I love about this show. They give us like just a little glimpse of a new image, and right away it's like, okay, what does that mean? What does this mean? How is that going to pertain to this? Yada yada. It's fun. It's fun to dive into these things, and anytime some new footage comes around, it just makes it that much more exciting. So, yes, Ragnarok Falls, we do have some new footage, and as soon as I am done saying what is up to the awesome chat, we will play that new footage and we will discuss it amongst ourselves. We got Chris B in the house. Free Helly R. Yes, free Helly R. It's been a lot of interesting theories going around surrounding Helly in terms of what is going on. Is this really Helly that returned to the office? Is it Helena? And we've gone back and forth on it ourselves, haven't we? Like thinking 1 minute it's this, 1 minute it's that. I mean, I'm at the point now where I'm kind of back on the fence. I'm not even 100% sure. But I don't know. Part of me is thinking that maybe it is one giant red herring. Maybe this is really Helly that returned, or maybe not. Who knows? I guess we'll find out. I guess we shall find out. But yes, Chris B, free Helly. Free Helly R indeed. We got Samuel in the house. What is up, Samuel? Looks like milkshakes and Luminetics lost semis. The milkshakes would have been a good one. That would have been a good one. And the Lumaniacs would have been good as well. That's also a pretty decent one. But Sevi's just works. I mean, it flows off the tongue pretty easy. It's easy to remember. I think Sevi's just works. I mean, we have the Frumily for From, and now for Severance, we have the Sevis. The awesome Severance fandom will forever forth be known as the Sevis. Welcome, welcome, Sevis. We got Joan in the house. What is up, Joan? Good to see you as well. Let me scroll down a little bit more. I see Chris Smalls in the house. What is up, Chris? Always good to see you, my friend. Good evening, all my fellow Sevies. Yes, it is catching on. I love to see that. We got to spread this thing far and wide, chat. We got to let everybody know that the Severance crew is now the Sevies. We are the Sevies. Welcome, Chris. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you. We got Lexite. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Love the Four Tops. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Welcome. We got Gabrielle in the house. Nice. I made it. Yes, you did. We are just getting ready to get started. So welcome, welcome. Looking forward to hearing everybody's take on episode 2. We got Crispy. Praise Kier. Indeed. Praise Kier. Gotta praise Kier every once in a while, right? I mean, without Kier, we don't have this this glorious show, do we?
Thank Kier. Thank Kier for the show. Yeah.
Thank you, Kier. Thank you so much. You have bestowed your bounty upon us of the show of Severance, and we are grateful. We got NN12 in the house. What is up, NN12? Good to see you as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got John Answers, excuse me. I think red ball, red ring, and red sun is in painting means something. Ooh, interesting. Interesting. And one thing I really enjoy about Severance is they do kind of hide some things in the background, little clues, little Easter eggs that, if fans are attentive enough, you can pick up on these things. And we were actually just looking at one the other day after we saw a Ben Stiller interview. And he was talking a little bit about the show. He was talking a little bit about fan theories and, some of the popular ones. And he dropped a little hint about something that no fan has found yet. And it was a little clue about something that is in Mark's locker. When Mark first walks into Lumon in the very first episode of the very first season, he opens his locker, and apparently there's a little Easter egg in there that at least Ben Stiller had said that he hadn't seen anybody find yet. And we found it. We found it super quick. No, PM, like we found that so fast. I guess it's we did, but I guess it's I mean, once you know where to look, I imagine it's a lot easier to find it then. Like once you know what to look for, it's pretty easy. But we found it, and I'm going to pull it up right now and share it with each and every one of you. And it's nothing big. I mean, it's actually a super small Easter egg that doesn't really even pertain to anything in the show, but it's always fun to find these things. But Ben Stiller talked about a little Easter egg that is in Mark's locker when we get a quick glimpse of it. Here is the shot of the locker. And if we zoom in to the driver's license, now at first, we thought maybe the time was significant. We see the time here is just a little bit past 9 o'clock in the morning. And we were wondering, does time is time different from the real world as it is on the severed floor? And so we were wondering, when Mark does go up that elevator, if we see a clock on the wall or anything, and we see that that there's a big time discrepancy, that would have told us that there is some kind of time difference between the regular floor and the severed floor, or maybe the switch takes a little bit longer than we originally thought. But the time didn't seem to give us any answers. So then we honed in a little bit more on the driver's license, and that's when we saw it. 2 different dates, 2 very specific dates. 4/24/2020. Now, of course, this episode came out in 2022, years ago. So this would have been the birth date of Mark's Innie. This is when Mark's Innie was born. April 24th, 2020. And at this point in time, when season 1 had aired, his Innie was 2 years old. So we have a 2-year-old Innie birth date right here on his driver's license. But we also have his regular birth date as well, the Outie Mark's birth date on his driver's license as well, which of course is April 3rd, 1978, considerably older. So that was the little Easter egg that Ben Stiller was hinting at in Severance. Again, he just did a recent interview talking about fan theories, and he was, I guess he was surprised that nobody had talked about the clue that he left in the locker. So we scouted the locker, and we found it. But no, that was fun. Now trying to dive into this thing, seeing what the hell he was talking about.
Yeah, and he has mentioned before that he has seen the way that the fans have been just focusing on every little detail. So that's why he was so surprised, right? He might be here. He says that he tunes in and he listens, so you never know.
Ooh, maybe. I know he's super excited about the show in general. Like he said in some other interviews that every TV show that he's ever been a part of, that he's ever been a creator or an executive producer on, every single one of them have never made it to a second season, which was kind of surprising to hear that Ben Stiller, he's a pretty big name, pretty big weight behind him. You'd think that he probably would have been able to put forth a few successful shows. But I was surprised to hear that when he said that none of the shows he has ever created ever got a second season. They all got 1 season and then canceled until Severance. Severance was the one who broke the mold, and rightfully so. I mean, this show is not going to get canceled anytime soon. It looks like they're planning 3 seasons in total. But if that's all they need to tell the story, then I guess that's all they need. But yeah, it was interesting to hear him say that, and yeah, you're right. It does look like he has a vested interest in keeping his ear to the ground and seeing what kind of what kind of theories the fans are talking about. And that's always it's always fun when you see the creators and the writers and the producers of a show get a little bit more involved with the fandom. It just does show that extra level of appreciation that they have for the fans. And one thing I really like about Severance in particular is all the bonus content that they put out. I mean, not only is the show in and of itself phenomenal, but they put out a pretty good amount of bonus content for fans to consume, whether it's Lumon websites, wellness, literally actual legit wellness sessions that you can take, their own LinkedIn page that has tons of stuff on it. Like, it's pretty cool to see them throw out all this extra stuff.
Oh, yeah. I love the way that they really dived into the fandom. They appreciate that people are loving the show. And for example, the LinkedIn page. So
Mm.
they're the only company, fictitious company, that has been able to put up a LinkedIn page, and they updated. You really feel like you're working for the office because they put out their updates, and you could even go to their website and download stationery. It's that level of detail that I love, because you could really submerge yourself into everything Lumen. You could, well, you were telling me, right, about the game?
Yes, that's right. There's this awesome game, and yeah, that now's a good time, I guess, to pull it up. Yeah, it's like you said, it's that extra level of immersion that they're giving the fans this extra stuff, this extra content on top of just watching the show, and it's nice to see them kind of engage with the fans like that. But yes, I came across this today, and it is super cool, super interesting. It's basically a simulated game of what MDR does on the show in terms of it looks exactly like their computer screen. You see all of these numbers popping up, and you have to circle the bad numbers and complete the file. There's 5 files below. You have to get, the objective is to get every file to 100%. It's an actual game, an actual interactive game that the fans can play, and it gives you a little hint of what MDR does on a daily basis, pretty much. And I will pull it up here and show everybody. I'll also throw a link. I'll throw a link to it in the chat if anybody wants to play it in their time later as well. But this is pretty cool. Again, I really enjoy how they're giving us this extra content, all of this extra content for fans to consume. It has been really cool, really cool. Let's see, let's get this set up. Here we go. All right, now here we have the page. Now, once the letters start to load up, which they will here in a minute, there they go. Now, in the bottom, of course, we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different files, and you got all 5 files that you need to fill up right here. 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you start circling the numbers, once this thing finishes loading up, sometimes it takes a little while to load, you'll have all of these numbers on the entire screen. And some of the numbers will start to jump out at you. They'll start to be a little bit highlighted. They'll start to move a little bit differently than the rest. Once you see those numbers moving, you kind of just outline the perimeter of the moving numbers or of the changing numbers. And that's it. Once you outline all of them, it automatically dumps them right down into the file, and you'll slowly see all of your percentages go up. And the objective is to get every file to 100%. It's pretty much the exact same thing that they do on the show, the job that they do. They look out for these numbers that to them look scary. Now for us, they don't look scary, but they definitely do look different. You can definitely clearly see Once you load this up for yourself and take a look at it, you'll clearly be able to see what I'm talking about. You can see the numbers change. They get a little bit bigger, they get a little bit brighter, they start to move in a little bit of a different way, and it always happens in these little clusters. And this is basically the game. You outline all of the ones that start highlighting themselves, and you slowly but surely build up every file to 100%. It's pretty fun. Pretty fun way to kill some time.
I think you're ready to work in the severed floor. I see that you are Outie Jeremy, but really you're great at this. I think that you should be Innie Jeremy.
Should I be
You're
Innie
great at
Jeremy?
completing the files.
Maybe I should be Innie Jeremy. Maybe I'm not an Outie. Maybe I'm destined to just toil away at this computer for all eternity. That's possible. That is possible.
I mean, you enjoyed it. This is macro data refinement, and it looks
It
like
is.
you're a natural.
It is fun. I must say it was fun. I mean, this every time you reload the page, you have to start over from zero again. I mean, I got up to like almost like 50% on each file. Then I had to stop. I just didn't have enough time to keep going, so I haven't completed it myself yet. But I definitely will. If not tonight, maybe tomorrow. I'll probably sit down and complete this thing. But yeah, it is fun. It is fun to kind of dive into these things and complete these files, find the numbers that are all weird and big and different, and slowly but surely get to 100% on each file. That's basically it. That is basically it. But I will throw it into the link into the chat, and I will also put it into the description of the live stream. So if anybody's watching this on the replay and you want to play the Lumon Ocula game, the MDR game, as it were, everybody will have a link to it and be able to play it. I would be trying to commit suicide like Ellie, says Breezy. No, we don't want that, Breezy. We need your contributions to the chat, my friend. We need your contributions to the chat. You're too vital. You're too vital to this team. MDR needs you, man. MDR needs you. Yeah, Innie Jeremy. Yeah, maybe it should be Innie Jeremy instead of Outie Jeremy. I guess if this is my my job, the job that I am destined to do, then I probably should be an Innie and not an Outie. Yeah, you guys are right. You guys are right. Let's see who else we got. We got Minerva in the house. What is up, Minerva? Good to see you as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I love how jarring it was from the Innie perspective, how you had no choice to trust management telling you the time that had passed. And then I love the expansion on to the Outies in episode 2. It is, I mean, you do have a good point. The Innies are very much at the mercy of management. Milchick comes in and says it's been 5 months. They know no better. They have no idea how much time it's really been. To them, it's been 2 seconds. To them, they were literally just turned off. That time is kind of stuck for them in a sense. So yeah, I guess it's another way that management and Lumon is able to just manipulate their employees, that they can tell them anytime they want, and the Innies have to believe it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Gabrielle. And actually, so there's a podcast with the creator, and he was discussing the time frame. He actually gave us answers about the time frame. So he stated definitely it's not 5 months. It was just 3 to 2 days. And even he didn't give the specified number of days, because to him it was like not a big deal. He's like 2 or 3 days. But definitely not 5 months. And the answer as to why they would say that it was 5 months to the Innies was that they wanted the Innies to feel like there was consequences for their actions, so that they would feel like they had lost 5 months of their life and therefore not want to rebel again. And when he put it that way, it really does make sense.
Yeah, it does, right? I mean, it's kind of that, again, that another layer of manipulation where they can kind of just totally handcraft this narrative, an entire narrative that the Innies were successful, the outside world, that you're famous now, you're responsible for all these severance reforms. Like, they can just create this entire world, this entire narrative and the Innies have no choice but to accept it. They have no way of verifying any of it. Even when Milchick hands Innie Mark the newspaper and then grabs it from his hand like super fast because he doesn't want him looking too closely at it. I mean, it's clearly a photoshopped version of the JFK's assassination with their photoshopped pictures in it. And then like you noticed, like you were telling me, all the redacted words on the newspaper. Like he didn't want them looking at it. He didn't want them taking a close look at that paper.
Yeah, and that was hilarious to me because it is a fictional newspaper. So they wrote every single word in there. After they wrote it, they felt like they needed retractions. Like the Innies couldn't know the lies that they put in the newspaper that was clearly a lie. Just hilarious. These little things that Lumon does to the Innies.
It is pretty funny. Yeah, I mean, when because I didn't even notice that like the first time I looked at the paper, I was so fixed on like on the picture of it, the the fake JFK assassination photo. I was so focused on that I didn't even notice. I didn't even recognize the outside and all of the redacted lines. It's literally just line after line after line of black marker. Yeah, it's like you said, it's just it's pretty interesting to see all the ways that Lumon kind of handcrafts these manipulations for the Innies to believe whatever they want them to believe. And like you said, with the Innies believing that they had some measure of success, that will most likely keep them from trying it again. So it is the ultimate manipulation in every sense, and it's effective. It's pretty effective, I gotta say. In the new season 2 intro, the open staircase, Mark walks down. Mark walks down. Its close visual echo of the open staircase Mark took down to his own basement where Petey hid out in season 1. Ooh, interesting catch. I'm gonna have to go back and take a look at that. I haven't looked at the intro too deep yet, except for the end. The final images in the intro are giving me an idea that I think we're seeing a representation of a foreshadowing for something that is going to happen later on in the season. Let me pull these up and we'll take a look. But I think these images right here are telling a story. Let me pull this up. I think these images are telling a story of something that we might see happen on the show in terms of reintegration. I think we might see Mark potentially reintegrate in season 2, unless it's just a very clever, interesting visual. We see here Innie Mark, or Outie Mark, excuse me, Outie Mark, due to the red sweatshirt. That's Outie Mark, that's at home. Then we see all of a sudden these hands come out the back of his head, and then we see Mark's eye. Almost as if Mark's Innie is plowing to the surface, getting to the surface, and finally getting out of Mark's Outie. I don't know. I just, when I saw this, I thought, could this potentially be a representation of a foreshadowing of Mark reintegrating at some point with his Innie and his Outie merging, with his Innie essentially escaping, essentially coming to the surface. I don't know. That's kind of just what popped into my head when I saw these images here. It seemed like maybe this was a foreshadowing for Mark reintegrating at some point and kind of getting to the surface, his Innie getting to the surface out of that prison that he's stuck in, kind of. Or maybe it's just a trippy image. Who knows? Maybe I'm completely off. That is possible too.
No, I like that. I really like that theory. And it also brings up a good point as to we love Innie Mark. We kind of also love Outie Mark. He's one of the ones that the Innie and the Outie are both really nice people. I like both of them. But when you're talking about the Innie coming up to the surface, are we going to lose the Outie? Who takes over the body? And if they're integrated, then who is this Mark?
That's a good point, and that's one thing they never really explored with Petey. And I do get the feeling we are going to see other characters reintegrate. I mean, there's no way they had Petey reintegrate in season 1 just to have that be an isolated incident. An isolated incident that was very much foreshadowing, in my opinion, for another character or maybe even multiple other characters to eventually reintegrate themselves. Usually, that's usually how writing sets things up like that. You'll have it happen to a smaller, more secondary character as a kind of test run of sorts, and that will usually be in a sense, a foreshadowing for that getting ready to happen to a more prominent character later on in the story. It's a very common writing tactic. So I did think when we saw Petey reintegrate that it was just simply set up for some other character going to reintegrate themselves, either in season 2 or 3 maybe. But yeah, I don't know. This image from the intro just kind of just jumped out at me in the sense where this could be him reintegrating, him kind of
Mm-hmm.
coming to the surface. But like you mentioned, what does that mean? What does that entail? We didn't really get to see that explored with Petey, where in terms of like which personality was in charge. Was it the Outie or was it the Innie, or do they merge into a completely new personality? Is it a symbiosis thing where the merging is peaceful, where it's you have these two halves of Mark kind of melding into one and it's a peaceful transition? Or is it more one of those things where it could turn into this kind of split personality thing where one side or the
Mm-hmm.
other, Innie or Outie, are both vying for control? Both of them want to be the one in the driver's seat. I imagine there's a lot of things they can explore there from the writing standpoint.
Wow. Okay, so that is actually really interesting. The split personality of trying to take over and
Mm,
who eventually wins. I think
yeah.
that that's really interesting. And regarding Patty, the writing, like you stated, will make the viewer terrified of Mark reintegrating because we know that it didn't go
Yes.
well. We know all
Yeah.
the telltale signs. So as soon as we see Mark going through this, we're going to be terrified that the same thing's going to happen, right? It didn't end well for
Mm.
PD.
It didn't. No, that's a very good point. When we see if this happens to Mark or another one of our characters, yeah, I mean, I imagine instantly there's going to be that layer of worry of wondering how is this going to play out? Because yeah, I mean, ultimately it killed Petey. Now, of course, we hear from the surgeon who did the operation that apparently Petey didn't follow the quote unquote post-op procedure, but it still seems like this procedure in and of itself is still incredibly experimental and incredibly dangerous. So yeah, if we do see one of our characters start to reintegrate, there's going to be that little bit of worry in terms of are they even going to survive this?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I'm loving this season so far. They're playing with so many interesting tropes, so many interesting ideas. And I do very much like the idea of another character reintegrating at some point. I do think that would be a very interesting storyline, seeing after what happened to Petey, and knowing that at the very least it is possible on some level, but incredibly dangerous. It will add just another layer of danger to the show that makes things even more exciting. I love the slow burn of From, but I do love the speed of Severance, and that is an interesting difference. That is pretty much it. Where yeah, From is setting up tons of really big mysteries, great writing, great characters, great concepts. All of it's great. But yes, it is a slow burn. It is going to take a while. It has taken a while for us to get definitive answers on From. But that is one thing that I really am enjoying about Severance. We get that mystery aspect, but we're getting answers so much faster, as you and PM both mentioned earlier, way faster. And it's a satisfying pace. I feel like it's not like it's one of those shows where they're just throwing answers at us left and right. I mean, it's not going too quick, but the pace is definitely more consumable on Severance than it is on From. You're just getting more and you're getting it faster. And maybe that is a product of them potentially only doing 3 seasons in total. Maybe that's how they structured this story, to give people answers as the show goes on
Mm-hmm.
and not just set up all these mysteries and have a bunch of payoffs later on. Do a little bit as you go, kind of thing. And it seems like that's what they're doing. And I think it's a good strategy. I love the mystery aspect of both of these shows. But yeah, Severance is giving us some answers a lot faster. sure.
And you and I were talking about the separation of the Innies
Mm,
and the Outies, and how the episodes being separate really do help the audience keep track of the storyline. Because if they were mixed up, it would be
yes.
just so much more difficult to decipher and to remember the storyline for each Innie and each Outie. So
Mm.
even the way that they structure, where it's only any storyline and only Outie storyline for some episodes, makes it easier to digest all of the complicated topics, right, in the show.
It does. It does. And you're right. That's actually a very good point. Throwing too many storylines at the audience at once, sometimes it can get a little bit jarring. I mean, some people don't mind it. Some people can pick up, like, the diehard fans, like all of us here in the chat, and you and me. We can pick up on stuff like that. But not everybody watching the show is that diehard fan like we are. Some people are just kind of casual viewers, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. So yeah, you got to be careful not to throw too much at the wall at once. And yeah, I think they've been structuring it very well, where it's a lot more consumable. It's a lot more easy to take because you're getting this side of the story, and then you're getting this side of the story, and it's not kind of all getting thrown at you at once, where you have to jump back and forth between a million different subplots. So it is a lot easier to consume, definitely, without a doubt. In season 2 intro, the thick off-white liquid may be goat. Really? Oh my god. Yeah, what's going on with the goats? I used to raise goats. This is a real thing because colostrum used to be touted as a youth formula. Wow, for old people to drink. Interesting. Well, shit. I guess you learn something new every day. Um, yeah, no, I had no idea. Don't know much about goats myself. I must admit, the only goat I know is Larry Bird, the goat, the number one, the best. But yeah, no, I had no idea. I mean, it's the goats have been a big mystery on the show up until this point. We've all been wondering what are the goats for. I still to this day remember that scene when Mark walks into that room and first sees the goat. You see just the look of fear on the guy that's holding the goat. No, she's not ready yet. She's not ready yet. She's not ready yet. It's like what is going on? What are they doing with these goats? It was super trippy. It was super, like, you could see the fear in this person's face about the thought of this goat getting taken away from him. So yeah, the goats have been a very big question mark, a very interesting question mark. I think the goats remind me of early on in Lost when you had polar bears running around in a tropical jungle. It was just something that just didn't fit. It just didn't make sense. You got polar bears in the tropic, and here we have goats in corporate America. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I really like what you said, Uliksai. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but the youth formula. When you
Yeah.
mentioned that, it makes me think of Kier. People like Kier who are, saying that they are refining and finding out the souls of people and separating
Yeah.
all of these things, right? People like
Mm.
here do not let go of life easily. So when you say youth formula, it makes me think of if anyone was trying to stay alive or discover, right, the secret to living forever, it would probably be Kier.
Ah, yes. I mean, yeah, we know Kier was first around in the 1800s. And it's not like he's a founding father or a boss to these people. It's almost like he's their messiah, their messiah figure in their religion. It's not just a company for some of these people. They do worship Kier, praise Kier. Like, you don't praise a boss, you don't praise a company, you praise something that you worship, that is a religious touchstone in your life. So yeah, I mean, I think that would be an interesting idea, that if that this the idea of this Kier figure searching for some kind of fountain of youth, for lack of a better term, trying to find a way to keep himself alive for as long as he could, to kind of continue his work, the work of Lumon kind of thing. No, I like that. I think that's a really good I think that would be a really good subplot that would fit a character like Kier because he is this kind of messiah-like figure already. So yeah, I like that.
Mhm.
I like that. I think that fits. Do people really have melon bars in their office? I don't know. I
Mhm.
mean, PM, yeah, you would be the one to ask here. Is the melon bar like an actual thing?
It's a thing. Yeah,
Oh
so,
my god.
they love to incentivize employees by picking, a theme. So whether it's fruit, a very specific type of fruit, or whether it's a color. I mean,
Ah,
it's gone down to, like, everything yellow, like, bring in a fruit or an item that is yellow so that we can, like, eat it. Like, they look for little ways to make it interesting. It's definitely a thing, but I have never seen the deviled egg, the egg bar, and they actually look pretty good.
oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about the deviled egg bar. Yeah. um, Believe it or not, I know I'm probably gonna sound weird, just like my weirdness for never drinking coffee. I don't think I've ever had a deviled egg.
I
Wow, I
haven't
don't think
either. I just think it
I've never
looks good, but yeah, I haven't either.
I've never tried one. Now that I think about it, I've never tried a deviled egg. Yeah, maybe I'll have to add it to the old bucket list. But yeah,
Mhm.
apparently these these melon bars and these fruit bars, these little themed, or like you said, like the color themed parties. Apparently these things are real. That's just absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. John Romulus Brinky, the goat gland doctor, developed a medical procedure in 1922 in which goat testicles were transplanted
Mm.
into the bodies of old men revivify them. Holy shit! What the hell? Um, I guess you learn more than something new every day. You learn two things new every day. Wow. That's profound. That is a profound discovery from Mr. John Romulus Brinky. Um, I'm kind of speechless. I don't know where to
It's
go from there.
interesting.
It is. It
Interesting
is
for sure.
interesting. Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, how he figured that out, I guess, is incredibly interesting. Like, how did he know that would work, kind of thing? Trial and error. Like, how did he get from A to B? I guess I don't know if I want to know. Um, but that is pretty interesting, if nothing else. If nothing else, that is definitely interesting. Wow, crazy. That is so crazy. In the season two intro, that book that Miss Cobell is holding has a red orange dust jacket. It is Ricken's book, the UUR. Is it? No
Mm.
way. See, yeah, this is why I need to dissect the intro a little bit better. I mean, I've only watched it like twice, and I haven't really dissected like I usually dissect things, other than really kind of paying attention to those last images that gave me the whole Mark potentially reintegrating kind of foreshadowing. I haven't really looked deeper at much of the other images in the new intro. So yeah, I'm really gonna have to dive a little bit deeper into that and maybe even do a video on it. Maybe if I can find enough interesting stuff, maybe I'll do a video on the intro, deciphering it. That could be fun. That could be fun. In season intro, the snow falling off the baby Kier's head at the end of his shedding of age, senility and frailty. Interesting. Interesting. And we
I
even
thought that
heard,
was interesting. The babies. Did you notice the babies?
yeah, creepy.
Right?
Yeah.
But now that
Um,
I mean, Ulik's side, I feel like you're heading in this direction, right? Of
yeah.
maybe Kier is trying to come back to life. Potentially, the goats and all of the humors and like the data is so that he can come back. I think you're
Maybe.
onto something.
Yeah, you might be onto something here, and I love it. Yeah, yeah, maybe Kier has been setting this whole thing in motion for all of this time as a contingency plan. Maybe this was his plan to come back one day. The chips, all of it, man. Maybe it's all going to play a role in reviving Kier. Yeah, I like where your head's at. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. To be honest, I didn't watch the beginning since I was binging, so it'll be something I need to take. I need to take more note of, and that's kind of how I was as well. Like again, when I was watching, they don't play the intro in episode one. I believe. I believe they only played it in the second episode. Unless I'm wrong, I might be wrong. But yeah, I haven't paid very close attention to it, so I am definitely going to. I am going to dissect the heck out of that intro, and if I don't do a video on it, we'll at the very least talk about it in depth on the next live stream. Definitely, for sure, for
Yeah,
sure.
and
We
I
got
have to
Xavier.
say, I'm just so glad that Kay Whisker is into Severance because I
Yes,
know that you were like on the fence about it. And I'm so happy to see that you binged it and that you're here today because it's amazing. I knew you would like it.
it is nice to see Kiwi here. Absolutely, Kiwi has always been an awesome member of the community from since day one when we first created the Discord and for from season two. And yes, I 100% agree with everything PM just said. It's awesome to see Kiwi here hanging out with us. And yeah, I'm glad you were able to get into the show. It is a fun show. I really do enjoy it. It's definitely my favorite show that's on right now. And it's awesome to have our pal Kiwi diving into it with us as well. Hell yeah. Well said, PM. Well said. Bill Church, good evening, Illuminites. I got Breezy K. Lexi, very good catches. It's about reincarnating Kier. Yeah. Again, maybe it is. Maybe it is. Like I really do like that theory. And again, Lexi's been bringing up some very interesting points. We still have no idea what the goats are for, but that theory is just as plausible as any other goat theory I've heard floating around out there by far. So yeah, I mean, great job, Ulexi. Absolutely killing it. Maybe this is about resurrecting Kier in a sense. I like it. I think it's good. I think it's a good idea. Got Gabby S in the house. What is up, Gabby S? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you as well. We got Wall Saint Tech. What is up, Wall Saint Tech? How's the gang got back together? And that is right. The gang is back together. The gang is back together indeed. Got Christine Jellybean. Welcome, Christine Jellybean. Good to see you as well. I've been trying to commit suicide like Kelly, says Breezy K. Yeah, Breezy does not want to be a Sevi. Does not want to be an Innie at the very least. He only let him see it for 5 seconds, but also the Innies have never read a newspaper, so it literally could have been anything. That's a good point. That's actually a good point. We tend to kind of forget that they're 2 years old. They're two, they're 1 or 2 years old. These Innies. I mean, well, in Irving's case, 7 years old, but still very much a toddler. They don't know much about the world, and that's why I thought it was a very interesting scene at the end of season 1 when the switch did happen. We saw Irving on the outside world for the first time, and we saw him try to take an attempt to drive. And it was just so funny seeing him try to drive for the first time. He couldn't get the hang of it. He's all over the road. He didn't know what to do. And it's little stuff like that, in my opinion, that just points to very good writing, because that is how it would be. I mean, you throw somebody just in the middle of the world that knows nothing about the world, that only knew that office area for 7 straight years. I mean, yeah, they might have some just basic knowledge about things in their mind just based on their Outie. But in terms of like real world experiences, like driving a car, for instance, they know nothing about that. So I really love scenes like that showcase just how realistic a situation like this would be if it was real. You would see something like that. You would see the Innie go to, try to drive a car and just not know what the heck he was doing at first. So I love how they're really taking these finer details into account when they're crafting the personas of these Innies, because yeah, they know nothing. They're children at the end of the day. They, like you said, wouldn't even really know what a newspaper even is. So that's a good point. Yeah, hand him a frisbee and call it a newspaper. What's the difference? Very true. Very, very true. Yeah, Innies don't understand Photoshop. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that's why they probably took the most absurd photoshopped photo I've ever seen in my life. Again, straight up the JFK assassination, just pulled right out, thrown with the innies right inside the car. And not even sitting down in the car. They're all standing on the seats in the car. Like, what the hell? Oh, man.
That's a good
Multi-billion
point. I
dollar.
didn't think about that. They were standing. So
They
how
were.
does that work?
How are you standing on that car? And it's funny because they're standing and you see Secret Service agents sitting on the seats right below them. So it's like, what are you standing on Secret Service agents' laps right now? That's literally the only way this would be possible. Yeah, it's not the best Photoshop job ever. But I mean, hey, a multi-billion dollar company, you think they'd be able to come up with a little bit better, but as Gabrielle says, the Innies don't understand Photoshop, so they don't really need to come up with anything better. They flash that paper to Mark for like a half a second, then grab it right back. Mark's none the wiser. Job done. Job complete. Absolutely. I think that it's Gemma coming out of his head. It's Gemma's memories that's creating her new personality. She's escaping his kind and becoming resurrected thanks to him and Lumon building her. Now that's an interesting possibility as well. I mean, we know Gemma is going to be playing a huge part in this second season, and we know for Mark, it seems like his a big objective of his is getting Gemma out of there or getting Miss Casey out of there and rescuing her. So yeah, maybe that is Miss Casey kind of climbing to the surface and finally becoming Gemma again. That's also definitely a possibility for sure. Yeah.
That's really interesting. It really reminds me of how amazing this episode was because we got one of the best lines of Mark and how he misses Gemma when Mr. Milkshake says to him, "You said since she died, every
Oh,
day feels like a year, that you felt like you were choking on her ghost."
uh,
Incredibly moving, incredibly profound. It's my favorite line in all of the episodes that we have seen, including season one. It's so descriptive. And it really does match up with the Mark that's crying in the car before work every day.
yes. Oh my God. And it is. It's such a profound and chilling line. Like you said, it really is just phenomenal writing right here, where every day you feel like you're choking on her ghost. And like I said, that is Mark. That is Mark. We see Mark at the very beginning of season one. He never he just has a totally different demeanor, a totally different look on his face 24/7 compared to the Innie. And that's why I do enjoy seeing the switch from Outie Mark to Innie Mark sometimes in the elevator, where you will see this just incredibly depressed and despondent face, and then all of a sudden you'll just see it switch ever so subtly into just like a normal workday face. And it's so incredibly Adam Scott plays it so incredibly well too, in terms of when he switches over from Outie to Innie. Like you could actually see him just becoming a totally different person in a sense. It's not like this is two parts of a whole. It does feel like it's almost two totally different people, where Innie Mark, he is happy. I mean, maybe not happy, but he's certainly not in this kind of state that Outie Mark is. Outie Mark is just miserable with every aspect of his life. It seems like he derives no joy from anything he does, in a sense. But you have this Innie Mark, and he's got something to live for. He's got an objective. He's got friends. He's got people that he cares about, that care about him. And he's got an objective now, a real objective to save one of his own, Miss Casey. And in a sense, he's doing it for his Outie as well. He knows this is his Outie's
Mhm.
wife, and he knows how important that is. And I think we get a few interesting examples, I guess you could say, of the Innies' lives being a little bit more fulfilling and a little bit more fulfilled than their Outies.
Mm.
I mean, not only with Mark here, but like we talked about earlier as well, like when we look at Helly and the kiss scene that she sees on the surveillance here. And I love how you pointed me in the right direction of the behind the scenes for this episode, and they really kind of broke this scene down in terms of like what Helly was really thinking, what she was really feeling when she sees this kiss. Now, when I first saw it, I thought, okay, could this just be her strategizing in a sense to to become Helly and go undercover? Because I know that was a huge theory at first, but after this scene, after it was properly dissected, now I'm not so sure. I'm on the fence as to whether or not that was Helly or Helena that did return. I'm starting to think maybe it was just the regular Helly that returned, and there is no undercover thing going on here, because we see this awesome scene of the Audi version of Helena genuinely kind of taken aback after she sees this, where she sees that her Innie, who she views as not even a person, has more love in her life than she does.
Hmm. Yes. And in the official podcast, the creator, Dan Erickson, described Elena and said that she has a very sheltered life, that she viewed Helly as a servant and was very confused as to why a servant, somebody who has a restricted life, is having a richer life. She is loved and appreciated and respected. And so when he puts it that way, it really brings in Helena as a more like complex character because she did laugh at the joke, right? We think of Elena as maybe like cold and calculated, but we do see her smile at the interaction. Maybe like wanting for connection. We saw the way that her father treated her, right? He
Yes.
delivers that awful line to her, and you could see there is no warmth, there is no love or respect in her life.
Yeah. No, and that's actually a very good point. I mean, maybe this is something that Audi Helena has maybe always longed for, just maybe didn't even know it. Like, she's just been so kind of trained and so kind of curated into becoming this next CEO of Egan, the perfect company daughter kind of thing. And yeah, you see the disappointment on the father's face when she kind of goes off script and Audi and Innie Helly takes over. Yeah, the father, you definitely get the sense that he was probably very stern with her entire life. Like you said, she did have that kind of sheltered upbringing where she was probably just always around the company, always around Lumon, always around her father, probably being incredibly strict, incredibly overbearing, not letting her do much of anything, not letting her experience life really. And now she sees this. She sees this any version of her who she views as a servant, as a slave of sense, as someone who is lesser than, that isn't a whole human. But really, you start to think of all of those qualities, those are actually the qualities of Helena, not her Innie. It's really Helena who's been sheltered. It's really Helena who's been kind of used to be this kind of tool, this next leader, this next CEO after her
Mm.
father, where she did have this sheltered life. She wasn't able to experience life. So when you think about how Helena views the Innie, that view is really a lot of it's projection because it's really how her own life is right now, where she's not really able to experience life. She's not able to just pursue a love in her heart and stuff like that, where any Helly kind of has a freedom that Audi Helena will never have or has never had up until this point. So yeah, I love it's almost like she has this profound realization on her face where she's realizing all of this for the first time right now, that maybe she was wrong. Maybe she was wrong about her Innie. Maybe she was wrong about who she was. Maybe she's the one that's really trapped in a cage. Maybe she's the one that really doesn't have the free will. And maybe the Innie does have a little bit more freedom. And it seems like maybe she's a little envious of that. Like maybe she wants that freedom for herself. Maybe this is something she's always wanted.
Mm. I really like that observation and the way that you're breaking it down because it makes me recall that a powerful statement, right? And Machiavellian statement that Elena made to Holly, where she recorded and said, "You are not a person, I am."
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
when we look at your dissection of what is happening here, we realize that in a way, Elena is the one that's not a person. Helly is a person.
Yeah.
She has different experiences, right? She has the freedom, even in all of her attempts, right, of suicide and everything that she tried to do. She had that freedom of being able to act on what she felt, where Elena doesn't. So really, who is the real person? It might be Helly.
Yeah, I mean, who does have the real freedom? Who is the one that can? Who is the one that is actually free to pursue her heart? Who is the one that actually has real friends around her and has a real purpose, a real goal to help these friends? It's she does. Any Helly does, in a sense, have a more complete life. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it looks like Helena is finally coming to that realization. And I imagine she probably doesn't like it, but I imagine it's maybe going to change her because, like you said, we were wondering at the beginning if she was kind of just all cold and calculating and just completely ruthless. But she is. I mean, yeah, she has that side to her, but she also has a regular side to her where she does seem like she is a person that feels. I mean, we see that side here. We see that side in some other scenes where she does kind of genuinely crack a smile every once in a while. She isn't just this completely ruthless corporate overlord. She does have a humanity side to her, and now she's realizing that maybe that side, can be paid attention to. Maybe she can have things, and maybe we'll start to see a change in Helena going forward. Who
Hmm.
knows?
And when we look at the statement, right, she gets in front of the camera and makes just an excellent statement, I thought, to try to control what had just happened. She comes up
Yeah,
with something that is plausible and that makes sense about her drinking too much and
yeah,
putting it out to the public. And it really shows you that for Elena, her image, her pride, her own body and brain are not hers. It's everything for the company, everything for Kier. Even if she is ruining her image by saying that she was too drunk at the event, and that's why she said all of these things, going through the severance procedure. And when they actually want to bring Mark in, saying, we're going to give him everything he wants, including Helly. So it really
yeah.
shows you that she has no freedom in any way, shape, or form.
That's true. It's not like they look. It's not like they looked over to her and said, do you mind going back in too? They just straight up said, and we're giving her Helly. So that's a very good point. It didn't look like they gave her much of a choice. Even Helena, they didn't really give much of a choice. So yeah, I mean, it does start to paint a little bit more of that picture of Helena being the prisoner, she being the one who is, chained to the company and is forced to do her father's bidding in a sense, and maybe she will start to realize that a little bit more, and maybe that will bring out the rebellious nature in her. I mean, because that was one thing we saw super early on with Helly. She has this just rebellious nature that came right out of her super early on when she realized this is not where she wanted to be, and she was raising absolute hell with that rebellious nature she had. And I imagine if Helly has that inside of her, Helena's going to have that inside of her too. Maybe it's buried a little bit more deeper down, but I imagine maybe these events and more events like this will help Helena realize that she also has that rebellious nature inside of her, and maybe we will start to see her rebel a little bit against the company and start helping the Innies. Even who knows?
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. It's
I
such
mean,
a
could
good
you
show.
imagine? That would be really interesting because she would be the next CEO. So, could you imagine the next CEO of this company that has been working just fine, right, for such a
Yeah,
long time, helping the Innies, being on their side? Um, that would destroy the company, absolutely destroy it.
yeah, especially with Lumen, where with it seems like they're always so concerned with PR, with relations, and how things are perceived. They want that public opinion to be high. They want the public to have faith in them. When it comes to the Severance program, we see them always kind of launching these PR stunts in order to paint Severance in a better light. And yeah, that would be the ultimate PR disaster for the company if it ever were to come out that the daughter of the CEO, the next in line to be CEO, was helping the rebellious Innies take down the company, I mean, there goes your credibility. That's just the worst PR stunt they could ever hope to happen, really. So yeah, it's very
Mhm.
true. I would screw them up. I would screw them up so bad. Did they post the new footage yet? Oh no, we didn't. We will do that right now. Yeah, we will do that right now. See, I mean, it's so easy to just get lost talking about this show because it really is so fun. But yes, we will play the footage right now. What is up, Susie? Good to see you as well. Thank you for joining us this evening. See, Pam Jam is here as well. Welcome, Pam. Good to see you as well. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. We will talk about this real quick, and then we will dive into the new footage. Interface says, that's part of what I had a problem with. Why was she so rebellious on arrival? Are they not supposed to be babies, essentially? How/why is she the anomaly that has negative opinions about the place? That's a good point. I mean, how many kind of newborn Sevies, or severed, or Innies, I should say, how many do go through that kind of spurt? Because, like you said, they kind of are children in a sense. Shouldn't all children go through the terrible twos and all of that if they are essentially children? Was she the only one that ever developed that rebellious nature super early on, or did that happen with other past employees and we simply just don't know about it? I guess it's really hard to tell one way or the other. But all we know is, yeah, Helly was the only one that we have ever seen display that rebellious nature. But yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Does that rebellious nature happen to other employees, or was that solely just a Helly thing? I don't know. I don't know. We did get that one little scene in season 1 of Petey when Outie Mark is coming to meet Petey inside the greenhouse for the first time. Petey plays a tape, which is it sounds like it's a recorded recording of, at least at some point in time, Innie Mark being sent to the break room. So it seems like at some point, Innie Mark did get in some kind of trouble where he had to go to the break room and recite that freaking paragraph over and over and over again until he tricked the machine, until the machine believed that he was actually remorse. So what exactly happened there? What did Innie Mark do to get in trouble back then? Did Innie Mark also have a little bit of a rebellious phase at the beginning, or was it something else? I don't really know. But no, it's hard to tell. Yeah, it's hard to tell if that whole kind of rebellious thing that Helly went through was just a Helly thing, or if it maybe potentially happens to other characters once in a while. I don't know. I don't know. But all right, let's pull this up now. It's just quick. Excuse me, it's just a quick, like, 30-second clip. It's not very, very long, but I did come across this recently, and it looks like there are a few scenes in it that are just completely all new. Some of these scenes I have not seen in any of the other trailers, a few of them anyway, and I'm sure you guys will recognize a few of them as well. If you've been watching all the trailers up until this point, you should recognize a few scenes in here that are just completely new footage. So without further ado, here is the quick little 30-second clip of some new Severance footage for season 2.
Hey, everybody. The 4 of you together again. I'm tightening the leash. Wow. Lovely.
You okay?
What's funny?
What are you gonna do?
I gotta get us out of here.
Whew. Interesting. We see quite a, there's a few scenes in there of scenes that we have just not seen before anywhere. And I'll play it one more time because I know it is kind of quick. It's just a quick little 30 seconds, and some of these scenes go by very fast. So I'll play it one more time so we can all get a closer look at it. But there's a few very interesting scenes. We see, scenes of people getting slammed up against the wall. We have some very interesting new Milchick scenes. One of him kind of taking off of his tie like he's getting ready for business. Like, there's some really good scenes here. But I will play it one more time. Yeah, drum and throwing Mark against the wall, right? How good was that one? Absolutely.
Hey, everybody. The 4 of you together again. I'm tightening the leash. lovely.
You okay?
What's funny?
What are you gonna do?
I gotta get us out of here.
Wow.
Yeah. Some good scenes. There's some good, nice new scenes there. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, what exactly is going on here? I should have gone and grabbed stills from these scenes so we could have taken a closer look at them, which I will do for the next stream, definitely. But yeah, some of these scenes are good. Again, the Milchick ones kind of always stand out for me just because Milchick is quickly becoming one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite character on the show. And I love seeing that one where he's walking down the hall pretty fast. He's taking off his tie. It looks like he's getting ready to whoop some ass. Like it looks like he's getting ready for some action. So that scene really stood out. We hear Milchick at the beginning saying, the four of you are back together now, yada yada. There's some good scenes. Two other ones that really stood out to me that gave me possible reintegration vibes were a scene with Mark and a scene with Helly. First, we have the
Mm-hmm.
scene with Mark, and he's sitting on the table that all severed employees apparently wake up on their very first day. We saw Helly wake up on the table in the very first episode, and Mark did her kind of orientation. But we all have also been getting these promotional photos that show Mark laying down on the same table. And at first I wondered, is this going to be a flashback? Are they going to show a flashback to when Mark was first severed and how he first initially handled it, maybe? Or is this going to be something else? And after seeing this trailer and we see Mark on that, we see him on that table in two different sets of clothes, his home clothes and his work
Mm.
clothes. That is making me wonder what the heck is going on there. And could this potentially be a glimpse of that reintegration? Is Mark flashing back and forth between his work persona and his home persona? Is that why we're seeing him in home clothes in one image and work clothes in another image in the exact same spot on that table? Is he flashing back and forth between Innie and Outie? Is he really starting to reintegrate? Maybe is the vibe I kind of got from those photos.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I like the theory. I'm 100% in support of that theory. Also because he's talking to Hallie, right? And when he's talking to Hallie, you see flashes, just like we saw with Petey. So
Of
that
Helly.
makes me think that it's definitely going to be Mark reintegrating.
Interesting. Yeah, the Helly ones threw me off a bit as well, where we see her kind of, almost looks like she's near a counter and she's kind of flashing back and forth. One
Mm-hmm.
minute she looks like she's in the MDR room, the MDR kitchen, and the next minute she looks like she's in like a regular kitchen, kind of flashing back and forth. So, yeah, these flash scenes definitely started to make me think that there was maybe something going on there with the whole reintegration. Here we go. I do have it. Nice. Let me pull this up. Yeah, this was the one that definitely stood out to me the most, and it was the whole Mark on the table thing, him going back and forth between his work clothes and his regular clothes. And here we have a better look at it. Mark on top of the
Mm.
same table that all Lumon employees wake up from. We got him in work clothes here, and we got him in his regular old Mark Scout outfit here. And yeah, I don't know. I guess that's why this one kind of just stood out to me a little bit. Like, is this potentially Mark flashing back and forth between memories? Is he going back and forth between Outie and Innie? And if that is the case, are we actually going to see Mark reintegrate in season 2? I don't know.
I
Guess
like
we'll
it.
see.
I like the theory, and it really matches the intro. The new intro does that, where it goes back and forth between Mark wearing a suit and Mark wearing this red shirt. So I think even in the intro, it's telling us that at some point Mark is going to reintegrate. He also says right at the very end of the clip, right? I'm gonna get us out of here. So really,
Yes.
that is the goal.
That's a good point. I'm going to get us out of here. Now, he's probably talking to his coworkers or to Miss Casey, But from a metaphorical standpoint, he's talking to his Innie as well. I'm going to get us out of here. So that's a very good point. I didn't even think of that, but that's a perfect point. Yeah, I mean, we're starting to see signs, I guess. We are starting to see some interesting signs that do point to a potential reintegration. From the intro, from some of the new clips, there's a definitely big potential possibility that we're going to see some kind of reintegration, maybe. And I'm all for that. Let's see how it happens, and hopefully it happens a little better this time than what happened to poor old Petey. Poor old
Yeah.
Petey didn't make it. Poor old Petey didn't do
I
good.
just worry about Mark, the Innie Mark.
Yeah.
I worry that he might disappear, that reintegration might mean that maybe he's a part of the Outie Mark, but he's not quite there.
Yeah.
It makes me think that we're going to lose some of Mark Innie, right? And I worry about that. I like both characters. I like them separate.
I do too. And they very much are two totally different characters. I mean, yeah, they're in the same body, of course, but they do kind of carry themselves like they are two totally different characters with different motivations and and different things weighing them down. I mean, it's a very clear, very stark contrast. I guess you could say between the Innies and the Outies, where Mark is concerned, where his Outie is just consumed by grief, consumed by tragedy, and he just can't get past it. And any Mark, he does have that kind of innocence to him, that kind of that innocent kind of free spirit where all he wants to do is help his friends. All he wants to do is help his friends and save Miss Casey. Like he genuinely has noble goals. And Outie
Mhm.
Mark might not. Outie Mark's, it seems like his only goal was to sever his memory so he can forget about the pain of his wife for a few hours a day. And I could totally understand that. I mean, I can only imagine what that must have done to him. But in terms of like other goals and other things that Outie Mark is striving towards, it doesn't seem like he's really all that motivated to do much. I mean, he has a brand spanking new niece or nephew. And you think that in and of itself would be a huge motivation for him to kind of, to get involved in this kid's life, be Uncle Mark kind of thing.
Mhm.
And it doesn't seem like he's really taking to that role very optimistically. So yeah, even down to their motivation, it seems like Innie Mark has just so much more to live for in terms of his friends, his
Mhm.
coworkers, Miss Casey, trying to find out what Lumon is doing and potentially stop them. Like he has a more full, complete life, it seems.
Yes, that's an excellent point. That the people who are supposed to be the restricted parts of people are
Yeah.
actually living happier, richer, kinder lives than the
Yep.
Outies. And I mean, excellent observation with Mark, but even with Dylan, we see it with Dylan
Yeah.
where at work he thinks that he's like a bodybuilder and like he imagines his outside life as like super fun
Yeah.
and he's
Yeah.
happy, right? And outside of work, he's not really kind. He's
No.
like restricted by this family. So I think that that's an excellent point. The Innies at this point are all living better lives than the Outies.
They kind of are. Yeah, they actually kind of are. Like when you actually really stop and think about it, and you actually think of the details of their lives. Yes, the Audis might have control. The Audis might have the freedom to be in control of this dichotomy of the Innies and the Audis. They're in the driver's seat, yes, but they definitely do not seem to be the ones with the full lives. It does seem like it is more the innies. All of them. I mean, we still don't really know a whole lot about Irving's Audi and what exactly his life is like. I mean, he seems to be kind of mysterious. He's researching Lumon in the severed floor. We see him going to these phone booths, making these weird calls. Who is he talking to? Is it the same people that helped Petey? I don't know. But we still don't know a whole lot about him. But we do know at the very least that Innie Irving did find happiness at one point. He did find love at one point, and he did find something to motivate him in terms of taking down Lumon for what they did to Bert. So yeah, you look at every single one of these innies, all four of them. Yeah, their lives definitely seem way more full, way more complete. Like they have way more to live for. They have a lot more to do. They have real goals, real aspirations, real friends around them. All four of
Hmm.
them have way more complete lives than the Audis, to the point where, yeah, who's really the trapped one here? Who's really the one that's in control, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, my goal in life is to be as happy as Irvin is with his tote bag. Like that level of happiness and innocence, it's one of my favorite scenes. He was genuinely just happy about this tote bag. It meant so much to him. And when we see the Audis, I just can't imagine them having happiness over anything like that.
That's a very good point. I mean, that's a very good point because the Audis, it's almost like they've seen too much to appreciate the small things, whereas the Innies, they're brand new to the world. They don't know all of these crazy things that are out there that are available to everyday humans. Most of the stuff that they know are the perks that they're given inside their job. So yeah, I mean, you totally could understand why someone like Irving would be so much more appreciative for something as simple as tote bags. Like something that simple makes him so happy to the point where he's going to think about nothing else until they come in, because he
Yeah.
doesn't know what else is out there. These things are precious to him because that's all there is to him. That he doesn't have this wide abundance of all of these different choices of all of these different things that humans have on a daily basis in the outside world. The only choices he has, the only options, the only possible things that even exist are the things that exist within the company. So yeah, it's probably so much easier to appreciate things like Chinese finger traps or tote bags or all these other perks. Like it's totally understandable why they appreciate and revere these things so much, because to them it's precious. It's all there is.
Hmm. I even really like how they loved Ricken's book. They
Yes.
appreciated his book and they
Yeah.
looked at it as just this groundbreaking work, right? And Mark on
Yes.
the outside, that's his brother-in-law. So he has access to Ricken, but I don't get the sense that Audi Mark reveres Ricken in the way that
No.
Innie Mark did.
Nope. Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. It's almost like Audi Mark maybe doesn't, I don't want to say thinks he's a joke, or thinks he's kind of, but I get the feeling Audi Mark probably at least feels like he's a little eccentric, a little full of himself kind of thing, where yeah, the innies, like you said, they revered that book. That book was like their Bible for so long. They're reciting it in terms of, what would Rickon do in certain situations. Like it was their book that they all learned from, the only book they've ever read. Like this is their only view, their only connection to the greater outside world as a whole, are these lessons that Rickon is teaching them.
I love Ricken. He is like,
Me too.
it's Mr. Milkshake and then Ricken for me. He is my favorite, one of my favorite characters. The way that he is like this new age parenting, um,
Yeah.
like person, right? The three beds, hilarious, right? You have to present the baby with three beds so that it doesn't become traumatized. Um, these little things and his group of friends, Rebecca and all of them have become my favorite like storyline to see what they
Hmm.
say back and forth and how they act towards this baby. The
Yeah.
disdain, open disdain that they have towards his baby, saying she shouldn't be introduced before their book reading because she's gonna take
Yes.
way too much attention away. And then Rebecca says, please don't punish the baby. It wasn't its fault. It's like, of course it wasn't.
Yeah, the friends are pretty hilarious. I mean, in terms of providing some really good levity in the show, some good comedic levity, most of it comes from Ricken and his whole world here, all his friends, everything he's got going on there. And it's such a good aspect of the show. Ricken is definitely one of my favorite characters too, because he is so unique. He's got this super unique view on the world and how it works. And he's so sure of himself and his beliefs, and it's an interesting quality. It's an admirable quality to have sometimes, to be, to see someone that is just kind of so sure of themselves, regardless of what anybody around them thinks. And Rickon does kind of have that. I mean, he's not completely stupid. I know he probably feels like there are some people that think he's kind of kooky, but he owns it. He owns it so well, and
Mhm.
he's not ashamed at all with the weirdness that he kind of brings forth. And yeah, like you said, three beds is a perfect example of like that. That is so Ricken. The three beds, that is so Ricken. That's Ricken in a nutshell right there, the three
Yeah.
bed thing.
And he
And yeah,
gave us like the new like Miss Coble, and like he said we should call her Miss Covelving, which was brilliant.
yeah, he's good. I mean, he is a good character. I think he's a very underrated character on Severance. He brings a lot of comedic levity, which is hilarious in and of itself. But I mean, I love, like you mentioned earlier, I love the aspect where the Innies are revering him through this book, where all of these weird Ricken lessons are being taught to these Innies. And it's almost like they're learning everything they know about life through this book, through Ricken's weird freaking lessons. And it just works. It just works so good. It's such a good aspect of the show.
It really is.
Ricken.
Because
Yeah.
he does hold himself in that sort of like um authority figure. I mean, he's wrote a book about what he thinks you should do with your life. So he takes
Yeah.
these things super serious. And it's nice to see that the Innies appreciate it. And that
Yeah.
he became everything to them. I like that. So fun.
It is. It is a very fun part of the show, and then later on, when when they find out, when Mark finds out that this Ricken character is literally his brother-in-law, you see Dylan's like, Ricken's your brother-in-law?" Like they're all so shocked, they're all so impressed. Like this godlike figure is actually related to Mark. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, great stuff. Really great aspect of the show. That freaking Ricken. I hope we see some more of Ricken. I want to see some more Ricken. I do. He is becoming a really good character. Like just the
Yeah.
look on his face sometimes just cracks me up. The guy's really good.
He is. And in the midst of Mr. Milkshake, right, coming in, having this super serious conversation, what
Yeah.
Rickon offers is, I like your helmet. Like, he's just like, you look super cool. I like your helmet.
He does say that. That's the first thing he says to him. I like your helmet. Oh man, yeah. And seeing Milkshake in the real world again it was pretty interesting. I did always kind of wonder what does this guy dress like when he's not in corporate mode attire, and the motorcycle outfit, it just fits. It just fits him so well. I remember you were saying that it just works for him, and it does. It does it's a fitting look for someone like Milkshake on the outside. Because I have always wondered, like, what is this guy really like? I always wonder if he has a family, if he's got a life of his own, all the usual questions, like who is Milchick really? Or is he really just this corporate entity? Is this the only thing he is, maybe? And after seeing the bike, like you mentioned a good point earlier, that the bike was a pretty good indication that he probably doesn't have children. If you're a parent, if you're a father, obviously you're not going to risk transporting your kids on a bike like that, on a motorcycle like that. So maybe the very fact that he does have a bike is a pretty clear indication that he doesn't have kids.
hmm Yeah, he seems to be very singular, even in the choice of vehicle, because a bike is very singular. Maybe you could ride around with someone, but it's not the easiest thing in the world, and it's usually
Yeah,
just you. Um, his style, it's so milkshake. The leather
yeah,
jacket and how cool he is, because he is such a cool looking guy, right? In the office and outside of the office. Um, the only like problem that I had with the outfit and the motorcycle is that he was delivering these edible arrangements with the
Ah,
pineapples.
yep.
How was he transporting them? It doesn't make any sense. I have been thinking about it. I even did some research as to how you could fit that in a motorcycle, and you just
Hmm.
can't. It's not a
No,
possibility.
no way. No, it's too big. I mean, some motorcycles will have some decent size saddlebags, but certainly not big enough to throw something like that in there without stuffing it in there and screwing it all up. Obviously,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that is a good point. It's like, and when we see him riding around, it's not like we see anything, strapped to his seat that's like tied down or anything like that. Like we don't see these pineapples anywhere. It's like, where is he pulling these freaking pineapples out of? Because we do see a few shots of him riding the motorcycle on the road, and you don't see anything there that indicates that he could carry this freaking thing. So yeah, that is a good point. How is a milkshake carrying the freaking pineapples? That's going to be the whole how did Martin throw the rope thing equivalent, I think.
Hmm.
How
Oh
is
yeah.
milkshake traveling with the freaking
The pineapples. And I
oh
love
god.
how Cobell really brings the pineapple full circle by saying at the end of the episode, was a pineapple involved, Mark? You're so easy.
That's right. That's right. I forgot about that scene. Yeah. I mean, Mark finally gets a chance to confront Mrs. Selvig, as he knows her, Miss Cobell. And, it's something that he's probably wanted to do for a long time. I mean, he finally finds out that this lady is his Innie's boss. And she has been just maneuvering herself closer and closer and closer to Mark and his family, even close to the baby, in a sense. So here he is, finally gets this opportunity to kind of confront her, and yeah, she says, "Was there a pineapple involved?" So good. But unfortunately, she doesn't give him any information. No information to go
Mm-mm.
on. Nothing of substance. Mark tries to stop her. Tries to stop her car in the middle of the street, but she ultimately just freaks out and almost runs him down. So no answers for Mark, unfortunately.
And so
No.
this shot that you have right here, it makes me question some of the reality. We know
Mhm.
that they have mentioned that part of being a severed employee is that you do get paid very well. And she is in management, she's in upper management. However, this
Yeah.
vehicle that she's driving, it's not a luxury vehicle. And
Yeah.
I'm wondering, is that because she wanted to like cover up the fact that she was Miss Cobell? So she was driving this
Undercover.
old car?
Yeah.
Or because Dylan's car is also just like a minivan. So it
Hmm.
doesn't look like they're getting paid very well. She's driving around in this vehicle. It makes me wonder like why. And the vehicles in the parking lot also, they don't look super new. They're not like BMWs. They're like this sort of time frame, this time period.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I've always been very intrigued with the aesthetic of Severance, of the style of everything, where it's really hard to kind of pinpoint it down to any one era or even any one decade or anything like that, because you see just this giant mix of everything. You'll see technology that seems like it would be around today during our day during the 2020s, and then you see some other technology like the headphones Milchick puts on in the break room, the machine that they hook people up to in the break room for the reading of the paragraph. All of that looks straight out of the 70s. You see all of these different styles represented on this show, and it's always, for me anyway, it's always been so hard to pinpoint down exactly when this show is supposed to take place. And it almost feels like, in a sense, it is an alternate version of America, of our world. I mean, it is a sci-fi show at the end of the day, so if they did tweak a few things to the real world and kind of created their own world for the show to be set in, that would be totally understandable. Again, it being sci-fi and all. And then, of course, you
Mhm.
point to the line we get in episode 1 from the orientation video that Keanu Reeves is spitting when he talks about Lumon being active in 206 different countries all around the world, when there aren't even 206 countries in the world, at least not in our world.
Yeah. Well,
So
it could be the newspaper all over again. The fake
could be,
newspaper,
could
right?
be. Yep,
Literally
absolutely.
fake news.
Yeah, literally fake news, setting up a fake world entirely. Yeah, I could totally see Lumen doing that to just kind of tailor make the perfect world that they feel would create a perfect employee. Let's create the perfect world that they can thrive in to make them the best employee possible. Totally could see that. Absolutely. When he said, "Hey everybody," it made me think of Lost and the Bang song. Yeah, okay, okay. I can see that a little bit. I can see that a little bit. It feels very odd talking about innies and outies. They are not belly buttons. Yeah, I had a little bit of a trouble with it myself too at first, like just hearing the whole innies and outies, and then going as far as saying innies and outies. Yeah, you can't help but think of belly buttons, can you? It's a thing. Is a thing. Yeah. Are the goats Pan slash Satan? Ooh, interesting. I don't
Mm.
know. I don't know. What is up with the goats?
Well, Savior, we do get that picture where there's the goats, right? And then there's a man that's wearing this
Yes.
disguise with like
Yeah.
horns. So potentially Savior, they could be.
That's a very good point. Yeah, we do get that photo, and it looks like you mentioned, kind of pagan. It looks like it's a little bit of a pagan design on these in the same room where all the goats are. And I do believe I have it somewhere. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, we got all these goats all over the place, and now we have this kind of goat-like, pagan-like deity kind of thing represented, walking up to the goats, getting ready to do Lord knows what. I don't know, with some very creepy and shifty-looking dudes beside him. I don't trust this guy at all. Look at him.
Mm-mm.
No, I don't trust you.
No,
No, I don't trust
I don't
any
trust
of you.
either one of them. Poor goats.
No,
I dread finding out what is actually going on with the baby goats.
I mean, I hope it's nothing along those lines too, and that has crossed my mind at the very least. Like, what are these goats for? Like, I hope they're not some kind of sacrificial goats and or anything along those lines. That would be, and I think that would be a little much for a show like Severance. I mean, I don't, I would like to think anyway that Severance wouldn't go there and go that dark. Although I don't know, maybe they would. Who knows?
They
Who
could.
knows? They could. They could. You never know. Can't I guess you can't really put anything past any show these days. Like this day and age, like you never know what kind of weird, crazy shit you're gonna see in a show.
Mhm.
So yeah, I guess you can't really put anything past anyone anymore. There's
Yeah.
some weird
I
stuff.
really love how like appalled we are by the baby goats when a lot of us, like we were saying earlier, we are from the From fandom, like from the
Yeah.
Fromily, where From started with like child sacrifice, but we are so upset at the goats. It's kind of funny to me.
It is. Yeah, it is. It is a thing. I guess it is one of those things where I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why, but sometimes things happening to animals sometimes tend to elicit more of an emotional response sometimes than things happening to people. It's I don't know why, but that does seem to happen from time to time. Um, yeah, I don't know. Leave the goats alone, guys. Leave these poor goats alone. They did nothing to you. This shot always kind of intrigued me as well. The shot of their cubicles just out in the middle of snowy forest by the looks of it. Like I've always loved this shot. Probably a hallucination or a dream or something along
Mhm.
those lines. But I just love this shot. It's such a good looking shot.
It really is. Well, we do see them walking in the snow and
Yeah.
milkshake like chasing them. So maybe they are hallucinating or reintegrating and having those flashes in the middle of
Yeah.
the snow, seeing their cubicle.
It's actually very good point. Yeah. Yeah, we see that. Yeah, they're dressed in all that Arctic gear. They're clearly in very very cold part of the world. And yeah, Milchick is also there on his ass with his all white outfit, which looks super fucking
Yeah.
clean. Looks so clean. Oh man,
He has the
he's
best
got
outfits.
style.
He really
He's
does.
he's got style. I gotta give it to him. He's got some good style, Mr. Milchick. Yeah, here's one of them. Good old Irving. But yeah, Milchick, he looks the best. There he is. Like, man,
Mhm.
just looking
The
fresh.
white, I mean, the
Yeah,
commitment to wear white, you really have to have a commitment to fashion because that could get dirty and you could ruin it. And he looks great. I love his
yeah,
style.
yeah. No, I do too. He always does tend to have a really good style. He always does tend to be dressed pretty well. And his choice of clothing always it always just fits for him, for his look, I guess. But yeah, the white looks so good here. Just clean, clean, clean white. Gotta love it. Yeah, Milchick's becoming my favorite character. I gotta say, he's been one of the more consistent characters that has just been just so interesting every single time he's on screen. Like I can't think of many Milchick scenes that aren't just super interesting where I'm kind of glued to the screen wondering what is this guy gonna do next?
Mhm.
And he's so hard to read.
I mean, that clip that you showed us where he says, I'm going to tighten the leash. He is
Yeah,
terrifying, but also very pleasant. But when
yeah,
he says that, it does bring out this fear in me because, like, when you see that, like this picture, and what he said, I'm going to tighten the leash, what does that mean? What is he going to do to them?
exactly, exactly. I mean, we see season two starting off with the severed crew kind of having a little bit more privileges, I guess you could say, than they did at the end of season one. They're trying to make it seem like their word got out and they're the face of this severance reform and all that, which comes with all of these new perks and all these new added benefits for being a severed employee. But yeah, maybe tightening a leash means taking all that back. Maybe at some point the Innies are going to start getting into trouble where they are going to start
Mhm.
looking for Miss Casey. They are going to start raising some hell in some areas, and maybe that is going to start having the having Milchick in the board kind of push back a little bit, try kind of taking away some of these new these new privileges, these new perks
Hmm.
that they are looking forward to. Maybe that's him tightening the leash, kind of getting them back in line in a sense. I don't know.
Yeah, no more pineapple bobbing. Too bad.
No more pineapple bobbing. It is done. Still don't know how anybody would ever bob for a pineapple. The things are just, they're way too big and their texture is incredibly wrong. I don't know. I don't know how anybody would ever do that. Hey kids, what's for dinner? Says no context. Indeed, what is for dinner? And I miss I miss Irving saying, "What's for dinner?" That was always a good line from Irving. He would come into the office, "Hey kids, what's for dinner?" With that weird kind of sophisticated
Mhm.
accent of his. It always sounded super super weird. Not quite British, but not quite American. Kind of stuck in the middle there. Yeah, I don't know. What is for dinner? What is
He
for
is
dinner indeed?
sophisticated. I like that about him. And he had
Yeah.
such appreciation for the art. But I'm biased
Yes.
because, as you recall, I got Irving as like my character, who I am most like in the quiz.
You
So
did.
I have to be on his side. Everything about him is cool now.
Yes, indeed. Got to be on Irving's side. You got his answer. Yeah, BuzzFeed put out this quiz everybody can take, anybody can take, and it will tell you which Severance character you are most like. Which Severance character are you most like? And I'm looking forward to finding out mine. I don't know where I'm gonna land. I don't know where I'm gonna land. I want to land on someone like Mark, but I don't know. What if I don't? What if I don't? What if I land
Oh,
on
you're more like
something
a
crazy?
Cobell.
Oh no! Oh no! I don't want to be Copel.
Yeah.
Please no! Please no!
No, I
I'd
could
rather be
totally see
Rick.
Mark for you. Yeah, I could see that.
I'd rather be Ricken than Cobell. Shit. Give me
Oh,
Ricken
I
over.
wish I had gotten Ricken. He's so cool. Ricken really is my favorite. I love everything about him.
Yeah, he's good. I mean, he is a really good character. He's one of the more well-written characters, and the actor playing him is just killing it in that role. Like he's really, really good in the role. Yeah. Which character am I? Let's see. I don't know. I don't know who I would be. I don't know. I because I feel like I see aspects of myself in certain characters, but I don't see like one character that is like me. Like in general, like one character that's kind of the most
Hmm.
generally like me. I just don't see one of them like that, I guess. But I do see aspects. I see certain aspects in some characters that I definitely have in myself. But in terms of one whole character, I don't know. I don't know. But I'm going to take the test, and I'll find out once and for all, I guess. Which Severance character am I? I think Rick's story might mirror Kier's story, like we're seeing how cult leaders are formed. Ooh, interesting.
Mm.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean,
Chauncey, I think that you might be right because we do see that Rickon has kind of like a little following. It's not a lot of
mm,
people, but it's definitely a lot of like strange people that are going in to listen to his reading, right? They're very devoted. So,
I mean, it fits. Yeah, I mean, he's got these weird friends. They're obsessed with his book and with hanging with him. They want to. I still will never get over the scene at the end of season one where the baby goes missing, and Mark stumbles into the room where the baby is, and then Ricken's friend stumbles in right after him. I found her. It was me. It was me. She's alive. I
he says,
found her.
I
I
saved
saved her.
her.
Oh my god, that scene was so good. I saved her. Like, oh, you asshole. You asshole.
And they had
And
that
by
dinner. Remember, they had a dinner party where there was no
mhm,
food or drinks. It was cups of water
yeah.
and no food. A dinner party without
Mhm,
food.
yeah. Oh jeez. Yeah, they're super weird. Super weird, Rick and his friends, but funny. That scene just had me dying when he kind of just because he barrels in there. It's not like he just walks in. Like he kind of runs in and he kind of like he runs right into Mark. Like one of those like one of those runs when like a guy walks up to another guy and he kind of shoulder checks him a little bit. It was one of
Yeah.
those. Like he walked right by him and kind of checked him a little bit just to get right by him. It was super deliberate. And
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
he wanted that credit. He
Yeah.
wanted
I
that
saved
credit,
her.
didn't
It was me. I
he?
saved her.
Saved her.
And they don't like the baby, which is the strange thing. Like these people do not like the baby. They make it obvious. They're vocal about it. But yet they're
Yeah.
like, I saved her. I got her.
Want those brownie points. They want those brownie points. Yeah. Fucking people, man. People are so weird, aren't they? Like people are just so weird. So weird. I doubt he has kids either, but he can't. But he can't own two vehicles. No, he could absolutely, absolutely. Most bike riders own something else when you need to go on a shopping, etc. No, and that's definitely a possibility as well. It's certainly possible he could own two vehicles. Yeah, I mean anything's possible in the world of the severed, of course. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I do often wonder what Milchick is like in the home life. You know, would he ever have a family or a significant other or things like that? Like can I even picture him doing something like can I even picture him in a true domestic setting, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Lumen is all he is. Maybe Lumen is the only thing he lives for. Maybe this job is Milchick, and Milchick is this job. Maybe it's just that simple. Maybe there is no other side. I tend to think everybody has a second side. I mean, at least in the real world, it seems like for the most part, almost
Mhm.
everybody has at least two faces. A face that they'll show in public, at work, being polite, yada yada, and then the other face that they'll only show to their loved ones, people they very, very much trust. It does seem like most people have, a couple, two sides to them like that. So I always wondered, does Milchick have another side? Does he have a humanity side, a family side, whatever the case may be? Or is it just the corporate entity? Is that all Milchick is? I don't know.
Hmm.
At first, I was hoping that he would have a family side. I feel like if he did have a family and a different side to him and a family side, I feel like that would make his character even that much more interesting, knowing that
Yeah.
he kind of just turns that side off of him every time he goes into work and becomes this Milchick corporate entity. I feel like that would make him a better character, but I don't know. I don't know if he has a family. He might just be Milchick.
Yeah. Well, I was examining everything that he said to the Audis in this episode, and he did not lie. Every statement that he made while he was using it to manipulate them was true. Dylan
Yeah.
was involved in an altercation. And when he says to Mark, what your Innie did was not sanctioned, but it was incredibly brave, that is
Wow.
also true. So it
Yeah.
strikes me as somebody that is doing his job and he's trying to do it in the kindest way possible when sometimes the job requires you to not be so kind,
Yeah.
which is why I go back and forth. I believe him. He does not lie. A lot of the time he is saying the truth and his smile does seem genuine, but he's doing kind of dark things. So it just strikes me as somebody working for the company who is trying to do their job in the kindest way possible.
Mm. Yeah, no, I can definitely see that argument, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and this is why I really love his character because he's so hard to read, and I do genuinely love characters that challenge me on a level like this, where I just can't quite figure out what this person's real motives are. What does this person really want? And Milchick does that to me every single time. I legit have no idea who this guy is still, and I love that about love that about his character. But yeah, it can be frustrating at times to not know, is that smile genuine? Does he mean this when he says this? And having these scenes that we got in episode 2 of him in the motorcycle jacket and coming to everybody's house, I mean, for me, it only made him that much tougher to read now. Like the dude is
Mhm.
such an enigma. But I love that. It's a fun character. It's a very fun character. The car she is driving is a white rabbit. If it was propaganda targeted only at the Innie's real world facts, don't matter. Exactly, exactly,
Mhm.
and that's the control that this company that Lumen has over the Innies. They have complete and total control over them. The Innies can't go to the outside world and verify this and verify that and look this up to see if that's true and look that up to see if they're lying. They can't. The only thing the Innies have are what the company tells them. And the company can tell them anything, literally anything. The company could tell them that the world is ending and they can never leave this place, and they would be stuck there. They would not leave. Like, there's nothing that the company can't do to manipulate the Innies. They're completely at their mercy.
Mhm.
Facts don't matter.
Yeah. And internet phase, the other thing that I found interesting was, wouldn't you remember if you were in a parade? Like, it was a huge parade, you were celebrated. Wouldn't you remember that?
Yep.
Why would they have to tell
Yep.
you that you became a hero and there was a parade for you if you were in it?
Mm-hmm. you know. And the Outies wouldn't have been in it because they had all quit and gone. They had all quit and not returned to work yet. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how Mark didn't kind of just see through that paper when he handed it to him that fast. I mean, it was quick. He probably didn't have a good chance to really look and see all the details. But come on, Mark, smarter than that, pal. There was no parade. And yeah, just man, it shows all of the just insane level of manipulation that these companies put these characters and these workers through. They can literally show them a fake parade and make it seem like they were in
Mm-hmm.
it. It's nuts. Absolutely nutty. Absolutely nutty. Let's see. I said that because Pan is the god of fertility and music and the workers' dance, and we know about the pregnancy. They may be testing drugs for pregnancy and easier labor. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, maybe, I suppose. I mean, it's that's the thing. It seems like, if anything, Lumen must have like so many different departments where they're working on so many different messed up things. I would imagine. Like, I imagine Cold Harbor, whatever Cold Harbor really
Mm-hmm.
is, it's probably just one of many massive projects they have out there, in development at any given time. So yeah, who knows? Who knows? Could there be a fertility aspect to this? Maybe.
Another good
Maybe.
one, Savior. Because he
Yeah.
also, when he talks about taming the tempers, um, you're doing it to people after they're born. Could you potentially tame the tempers and create the perfect human before they are born? And that's
Ah,
where the pregnancy and the testing that you're talking about, I could see like coming in. So another good one, Savior.
yeah. Yeah, good point. Very good point. Yeah, what the hell are they working on? What is going on at Lumen, guys? What is going on at Lumen? My two favorite characters are Miss Cobell and Helly. Okay, interesting, interesting. And yeah, I would love to hear that. Everybody, sound off in the comment section if you want to, and let me know your favorite character and your least favorite character. I want to see both ends of the spectrum. What is your favorite character, and what is your least favorite character as well? We want to see both favorites and least favorites. Who do you guys like on Severance? What storylines are you looking forward to following? What storylines are you not looking forward to following? Is there a character that you just genuinely do not like seeing on screen? What are your favorite and least favorite characters? That is what I want to know. What about you, PM? Do you have a favorite or a least favorite character?
Yes. So my favorite would be Mr. Milkshake, and my least favorite is Cobell. I just don't like her.
Ooh,
Um, she's so mean to our Innies. But 88 Keys brings up like a really good point about Cobell and Helly, because you came out with the video yesterday where you were examining season 2. And I really like the way that you described the interaction between these two characters. You said it was a mental chess match. And
yes.
that is perfectly what we saw on screen, because it did feel like that. It felt like it was just one of them taking turns one after the other, very worthy opponents. When you see them having this conversation, it definitely felt that way. I really like what you put in the description of that video. Yeah.
Oh wow, thank you. Yeah, it was a really good scene, wasn't it, between those two, where you have,
Hmm.
because I imagine Miss Cobell is probably a character that has never really, or probably very rarely, been in situations like that where she's going up against someone that is her kind of her equal, her intellectual equal, and does kind of have, that weight behind her, that status kind of that Miss Cobell seems to have. I imagine Miss Cobell is used to having a lot of conversations like that where she is the intimidator and the person she's talking to is intimidated, as opposed to people being on kind of equal footing. I imagine she doesn't have a whole lot of those conversations. And Helena maybe too. Helena might be in a similar position where a lot of the conversations she has had in those regards, it's been her kind of the boss talking to the subordinate and kind of having that feeling that she is superior. But now here we are, we have these two, these two characters that are usually both very strong independently on their own right, kind of locking horns in a sense in that little battle of wits, a little chess game, a little mental chess game, as it were. And yeah, it was an interesting outcome to see where this thing was going to go and who was ultimately going to gain the upper hand. I wasn't sure. Like when I was watching that scene, I legit was not sure if Cobell was going to end up kind of winning that exchange or if it was going to be Helena. And it kind of, in my opinion, did kind of end up a little bit like a draw. Like it didn't really seem like either one got over on the other, where either one really got what they want. Helena is offering Miss Cobell this job that she knows she's not going to want, a job that Miss Cobell feels like is beneath her, even though it's a promotion, still feels like it's a job that is kind of beneath her. Feels like she is meant to manage the severed floor. That's where she wants. She feels like that's what she's most qualified for, and Helena is not giving it to her. And it was just interesting to see, okay, who's going to budge first? Who's going to back down first? Who's going to concede in this little arena of wits? But no, it was an interesting outcome, and it did feel a little bit more like a draw between the two.
I would have to agree. And it also gave us some insight into Elena, because when Miss Cobell says a apology is in order, Elena apologizes immediately. I apologize. The board apologizes. My father apologizes. And when you see somebody do that, somebody that is a powerful person, it really shows you that they are a Machiavellian entity where it's not even about pride. They will kneel and apologize and say all of the sorries that they need to because it doesn't matter to them.
Yes.
It's not an insult. It's like, you want an apology? Here you go. I apologize. The board apologizes. My father apologizes. And it was so, I think that Miss Cobell thought maybe she might not apologize.
Yeah.
This might be like, it might make her upset, or she might argue with me, and she didn't, which shows you like how committed and strategic she is about the goal. It's all about the goal.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good point. Because yeah, I imagine Miss Cobell is sitting there probably thinking like, oh, she's not going to give me this apology. If she gives me this apology, it's going to be, it's going to be her conceding defeat kind of thing, where Miss Cobell's not realizing, I guess, that this apology literally means nothing to Helena. That this is not her conceding defeat. This is not her giving you what you want. This is her just getting you out of the room kind of thing. Yeah, that is a good point. That is a really good way to look at it, because Miss Cobell was looking for that kind of that win, that satisfaction. Like, okay, you're not going to back down. You're at least going to give me this and tell me, you're sorry, yada yada. Yeah, it was a really good scene between the two. Really good scene between the two. Let's see what you guys said, though. Let's see what you guys are saying. Again, we were asking everybody in the chat, what is your favorite character on Severance, and what is your least favorite character? We want to know one of each, your favorite character and your least favorite character on Severance. 88 Key says, my least favorite character is Patton. Okay. Least favorite character is Patton. Ragnarok Fall says, Helly is the favorite. Oh, and Outie Helena is least favorite. Now, that's interesting. Like, okay, the same person, same character, two different personalities, where one is the favorite and one is the least favorite. That's actually an interesting answer, Ragnarok. That is an interesting one. Helly as the favorite, Helena as the least favorite. Okay. Okay. I can dig it. Xavier Anderson says favorite was Milkshake and the least favorite was Mr. Egan. Oh, okay. Mr. Egan. Nice. Helly's father, least favorite, and Milkshake, favorite. I like it. like it. Yeah, good stuff. Mr. Egan for sure, least favorite. Don't really have a favorite though. Okay, Kiwi. Nothing wrong with that. If you don't have a favorite, that is totally fine. I mean, only having a least favorite, there's nothing wrong with that. And to have a least favorite like Mr. Egan, like James Egan himself, that's a good character to have as a favorite, I would imagine. He is pretty shitty, I guess you could say. Not the best. Alexander says, internet says I'm like Mr. Milchick. Okay. In terms of the BuzzFeed quiz, you are like Mr. Milchick. Okay. Interesting
That's
outcome.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I
Interesting
was Mr. Milkshake.
Part of me is hoping that mine comes out as Mr. Milkshake. I'm not gonna lie. Part of me is really hoping I get him. Part of me is really hoping I get good old Milkshake. Oh, looks like Susie got Milkshake as well. Damn, everybody's getting Milkshake. Fuck. All right, I really gotta get her now. I can't get shown up. Shit. I gotta get me some Milkshake. Samuel got Mark S on the BuzzFeed on the BuzzFeed quiz, and Jim on the From quiz.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Those are kind of
Mark,
opposite. Mark and Jim.
they are a bit opposite. They are a bit opposite. Yeah, getting Mark S on the BuzzFeed one and Jim on the From one. Wow. Wow. Hey, that's what you get. That's what you get, I guess. Yeah, I guess that's what you get. I guess that is what you get. Second favorite character was Miss Cobell and Helly. Oh, okay. Miss Cobell and Helly. Good characters. Very good characters indeed. Miss Cobell is obviously terrible, but for some reason I love her character. Interesting. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with liking, some of the characters that are maybe a little bit more of the protagonists and not the the antagonists and not the protagonists. That's nothing wrong with that. I like bad characters all the time, really. Again, I don't know if I would describe Milchick as good or bad. He's kind of like, I don't know, I feel like he's kind of chaotic neutral in a sense. But I imagine there are plenty who would categorize Milchick as more of a villain kind of character, with him being this corporate entity that is kind of a authority figure and all that. I could totally understand if some people wanted to classify Milchick as more of a villain. I can understand that. But yeah, he's one of my favorite characters, if not the favorite character on the show. And yeah, he's done some questionable things, of course, but he's just such a good actor. Like, the actor is so good in the role. And Milchick does so many weird, quirky, and interesting things that just kind of draw you in. So even though he is definitely not a quote unquote good character, still still think Milchick is my favorite for sure. For sure. Now I got another one. Another one for Milkshake. Another favorite for Milkshake. Awesome. I'm ambivalent to all of them. Sorry. Okay, hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
That's okay.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Totally okay. Kiwi got Dylan, and I'm happy with that.
Hopefully it's Innie Dylan, Kiwi, and not Outie Dylan.
Yes. That is a good distinction, because Outie Dylan definitely seemed to be a bit of an asshole to his wife.
Yeah.
Just a bit. And you felt so bad for the wife in that scene. I mean, she's calling, trying to see how he did, wishing him, a good interview, and she's like, if I'm not answering, it didn't go well. Stop.
Read the room.
Read the room. Like, what are you doing, bro? She's trying to support you. Fucking guy. Yeah, and that's so funny to see how some of these Outies are just polar opposites to their Innies. Like, just completely different people from top to bottom, from morals to temper. everything about them just seems to be so different. And almost all four of them, in a sense. Helly, of course, and Helena, two
Hmm.
totally different characters. So different. Now you see Dylan and his Innie and Outie, just completely different, where Dylan is this kind of class clown, prankster kind of character, always funny, never hurts anybody, unless, of course, you're Mr. Milchick and he's tackling you and biting you. But other than that,
Well,
it's an
that's a big
isolated
one.
incident. Yeah, it's an isolated incident though. Um, but no, I mean he's cheerful, he's happy. I mean he kind of seems like he likes doing his job. He's got a great friendship with Irving, like that, which was such a good scene in episode one. And I know you were saying the same. Like that was probably the best scene in episode one, the one between Irving and Dylan.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, and then you see his Outie. Then you see Dylan's Outie, and he really is. He's like a despicable asshole to his wife, who's only trying to be supportive to him. Fucking guy.
Oh, I love the door interview though. Like working for a door company and like how old were you when you were interested in doors? Like what? And what type
Ah,
of door would you be? Eggshell? Semi-gloss?
what kind of door would you be? And he like nails the answer too. Like the answer he
Hmm.
gives him, the guy loves. Like he loves his answer so much. And then he realizes he's a severed employee and doesn't hire him. Which again, we see, that one of those secondary storylines that was playing during season one, where we saw a huge portion of the public. They're not down with severed. They're not down with the severance program. They view it as cruel, and some view it as indentured servitude even.
Hmm.
And here we're seeing the effects, the after effects of that, where if you were a severed employee, if that is on your resume, more likely than not, it's you're going to not get hired because of that.
Yeah. And I could see that, but now that well, you examined and pointed out that the Ennies are living a richer, happier life. It
Yeah,
kind of goes against what the public is saying. The public is saying,
yeah,
I understand they're working, they don't get to leave the office, but they are happy.
yeah.
So it
They
kind of
are.
complicates the issue.
It does. It's not as clear cut and dry as these people are forced labor, forced to work day in and day out and never go home. It's not that cut and dry. It's not that simple, unfortunately. Because yeah, like you said, we're seeing it. Some of the innies are living way more full lives than some of their outie counterparts, even though they don't have the freedom, even though they're not in control. The lives that they are living inside as innies are they're fulfilling. They're happy, way more happy than a lot of the outies. So it does make things a little bit more sticky in terms of just shutting down the severance program and letting the innies die. It's that that's a cruel outcome as well.
Hmm.
So it does become tough. It does become tough, and I often wonder, like, if Severance was real, I wonder how our world would take it. Like, how do you think our world would take something like
Mm.
Severance? Do you think it would be similar to the show, where there'd be maybe some states that support it, some states that don't support it? Like, public opinion would be split. Like, how do you think Severance would be? Um, how would our world react, I guess, to
Mhm.
Severance if it was real?
That's a really great question. Um, and because of capitalism and American drive, right? America really drives the workplace excellence when it comes to
Hmm.
the world, right? We are the
Yeah.
top. Um, I think because of that capitalism, it would probably be looked at as a positive thing. I mean, of course, there would be those people who don't like it, but
Yeah.
because we already do that, we push for that, for the separation of your home life and your work life. We do that
Hmm.
and we're not severed. So
Yeah.
I would think that they would view it as a positive thing because it really is all about productivity and capitalism. Um,
Hmm.
I think it'd be positive. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. Yeah, I've never really thought of it until right now. But I do think it would be like that. I do think probably maybe the majority of the country probably wouldn't mind, not just the country, but the world too. Um, but yes, I do think you would also have those pockets of people that were resisting, the pockets of people that were kind of protesting it and weren't kind of on board with it. I do think we'd have a little bit of a mix of both. But no, I wouldn't be surprised if the majority of people were behind it. Because yeah, like you said, we do kind of live in a structure that is kind of similar to that already, where yeah, your work life and your home life, a lot of people keep those separate, where you have this, you have this, you do your job. When you're at your job, you have you have that face on, like we talked about earlier, with where just about everybody has more than one face. The face that you show at work, that you show to coworkers and employees and maybe people that you don't know all that well. And then of course you have, another face, which is much more akin to who you really are deep down, something that you don't show to many people, something that you only show to the people that you really trust. So yeah, in a sense, we do already kind of sever the two, where we live one life while we're at work and a different life while we're at home. So yeah, maybe more people would be on board for it than we think. But yeah, there would also definitely be the little pockets of resistance here and there as well, for sure. It'd be nuts, man. Imagine that. Imagine if Severance was real. Fuck.
Yeah. Well, you keep saying that you wouldn't do it, right? You say like you
I don't
wouldn't.
think.
I always
I don't
said
think it's
like I'm on the opposite side. I would. I
Yeah,
would do it.
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could. Part of me would be. I would certainly be wondering. I mean, it depends. Which one am I? I mean, am I the Outie or am I the Innie? If I'm the Outie, that's definitely more enticing than being the Innie, I would say. You still have your life, you still have you, and you still have, everything that you had before you go into it. It's the Innies that kind of only have the inside and never get to experience the out, never get to experience the fruits of their labor, in a sense. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think it would have to depend on that. Like if I was an Outie, that would be more enticing than an Innie, obviously.
I think you're fighting your true nature, Audi Jeremy, because you are already doing the macro data refinement, the game. You're so good at
Very
it.
true.
So
Very true.
maybe you are an innie. You're doing it
Maybe.
on your off time. So
Oh God, no. Did I already seal my fate? Am I in
you love
any?
those
Shit.
numbers.
I love the numbers. The numbers are fun. They're scary. They're scary numbers. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, maybe I'm more of an innie, I guess. I do work nonstop, so there is that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, it would be nuts. It would be absolutely nuts. I imagine it would be a shit show in terms of the legality behind it. Like, would something like that ever even get passed? I don't know, but who knows? Who knows? And what would be his reasoning for serving? Oh, I think I missed the beginning of that. I missed the
Oh, I
beginning of
think I
that.
caught it. So Interface was talking about Dylan and
Ah,
how,
okay.
like, what is Dylan's reasoning? Because he does have a family and he
Okay.
does have a wife, but maybe that
Yeah,
is the reason, escaping the family and the wife, forgetting about them for 8
maybe.
hours a day.
Maybe. Holy shit. I didn't think of that. Yeah, I mean, because I mean, we do see he seemed like annoyed that his wife would even dare call him to check on him. Like he was just so annoyed the fact that the fucking phone even rang. Um, so no, that's a good point. Maybe that is why he got severed. Maybe he wanted to just get away from his family for a few hours a day. Shit, it's pretty dark.
And it's hilarious because
Um,
Dylan, like the Innie, all he wants is the names. He lives for the
yeah,
names.
yeah. Yeah, it's all he wants. I want the name of my son. I want to remember like all he cares about is his family. That's the
Yeah.
only thing he wants. And here we have Outie Dylan just doing everything he can to get away from the family. So again, we just see these polar opposites between these innies and outies for so many of these characters. It's pretty crazy there how different a lot of them are. I love Severance because we know it's all about the mind. The mystery isn't where are we. The mystery is the mythology and the company. From and Lost try to keep the mystery, but it's also all mind. I love the mystery aspect as well. Like the mystery aspect is fun. It's what draws a lot of people into shows like this, like Lost, like From, and all that. But yes, the cerebral aspect, the mind aspect, sometimes that can be just way more fun and way more rewarding as a viewer because it does challenge you. And again, that's why I always really enjoy shows like this. I really like shows that genuinely challenge me to think and try to figure out what does this mean? What does that mean? What is the underlying message behind this? What is the underlying message behind this plot line? And it becomes way more cerebral. It is a very, Severance in particular. I mean, From and Lost have aspects of that, but in terms of being like a full on cerebral show, Severance is definitely that, like in so many ways. It very much is a mental ride. So yeah, I love the mystery aspect, but it's nice to dive into these mental kind of these mental exercises, as it were, to try and figure out what all of this means. What is the deeper underlying meaning behind this episode or that scene or this character's move? Like, what exactly is there? Is there something deeper to find? And usually there is. That's why I really enjoy shows like this with writing like this, because you will find kind of these deeper underlying themes right on top of the surface level themes that just about everybody can see. And it's all about,
Yeah.
can you kind of dive a little bit deeper and find them?
Yeah, and I think that's an excellent point, David. I find I love both. I love both. Obviously, like
Yeah.
I love From, love Severance, but I did find myself with From. My obsession was not being able to figure it out. It would keep me up at night. I was
Yeah.
obsessed, and the feeling was different. With Severance, I'm having a lot more fun. It's a lot more like easygoing. I'm still obsessed and like watching
Yeah.
the show like 500 times, but I
Mhm.
don't feel that like negative sort of like dread. With From, I felt like I needed to figure it out. And I like
Wow.
both things are super cool, but it's definitely a difference. Yes.
It is a bit of a difference, isn't it? Yeah, I think you're right. Whereas, yeah, From the way From structured, it is one of those shows where you do want to figure shit out. It's like you just want to figure out, what does this mean? What does that mean? And I think that's why we saw some big fan outcries towards the end of season two, when season two finished. A lot of fans were, they were wanting a little bit more. They were wanting a little bit more answers, a little more meat on the bone. And which is understandable. Again, fans are welcome to want or not want whatever they want out of shows. It's totally up to them. But yeah, From is structured in a way where you do want to figure everything out. You do want to know, what does this mean? What does that mean? What is this leading to? And all of that. Whereas something like Severance, I think I'm much more invested in just the characters and in their personal journeys that they're going on. I love the sci-fi aspect of the show. Don't get me wrong. I love all the weird, trippy sci-fi stuff that's going on in Severance, and the mystery as well. But in terms of like my favorite aspect of this show, it is just the characters. It is the individual journeys that these characters are going on. Milchick, what kind of person is he? Is he, again, I always try to break these characters down. Do they have families? Is this all he is? All of that. Then you look at Mark and his Outie and the struggles that they're going on, and what are they going to do about Gemma? Will they eventually try and rescue Mrs. Casey? Like, it's the individual character journeys that I'm probably a little bit more invested in on Severance, as opposed to the kind of sci-fi angle and the mystery angle. Just trying to figure out, where are these characters going, what obstacles are going to be in these characters' paths on along the way. Are they going to be able to complete them? Are they going to be able to move on? Are they going to falter? Are they going to fail at times? What exactly is the ultimate goal for each one of these characters? What is their main goal? And usually that goal is something a little bit more character based and not so much deep rooted in sci-fi or mystery. A lot of these characters are looking for just basic human stuff. They're very basic human things. A lot of these characters have for motivations, whether it's Irving and
Mhm.
his, quest to try and get Bert back, whether it's Dylan and his quest to kind of learn who his family is. A lot of these characters have just very regular, real human goals that they're going after. So for me, it's definitely the characters that's a little more rewarding getting invested in. I love the sci-fi and the mystery too, but it's the characters' personal journeys that seem to be, the best aspect of the show for me.
Mhm. I would agree with that. And to add to that, one of the things that I have noticed in Severance is that while we do have two plot lines of a love story, right? Bert and
Yeah,
Irving and Hallie
yeah,
and Mark, we don't really think about that aspect. It's not prominent. When we think about the characters and what will become of them, we don't think of the relationship. It's not in your face. It's more about Hallie and
hmm
Elena and Mark and the two Marks, right? But it's not
yeah.
a main point. They're not merging them together. They're still very much individuals. And I like that because we do focus on them individually.
We do, absolutely, and that's actually a very good point. And yeah, and that's what's fun about a lot of these characters. They have these really good, just very rooted and regular human problems that they're going through. Again, some of them are going through these journeys alone, but we also see them kind of come together in some of these storylines as well. And I think we're going to see a little bit of that in season two, where we might see some of these storylines starting off as them as singular. But as the season goes on, I get the feeling we will start to see them kind of merge and start to have similar goals and start to work together like they did towards the end of season one. They're going on some pretty interesting journeys, each one of these characters, and I do enjoy how a lot of these journeys aren't, again, crazily rooted in sci-fi. It's more rooted in just your basic human experience, and those are the most compelling characters sometimes. Um, the
Mhm.
show has a great sci-fi aspect too. Don't get me wrong; I do enjoy the sci-fi aspect of Severance, figuring out what is up with these chips. What are they really working on? What is Cold Harbor ultimately going to be? There's a lot of good mystery sci-fi angles on the show as well. And I think that's why the show works so good. I do genuinely feel like there's something on Severance for everybody, no matter what your
Mhm.
genre is, no matter what you look for in a series. I imagine just about everybody is going to be able to find something in Severance that is up their alley, kind of, in a sense.
Oh, for sure. Even comedy. Ricken
Yeah,
brings all of the comedy that you need. So
yeah.
I do like that you could watch Severance as a very serious like viewer and examine every detail, or you could just watch it for fun. You don't have to focus
Mm.
on every detail and you would still have a great time.
Very good point. Yeah, again, it really does have something in it for everybody. If you just want to have a good old comedy, yeah, you're going to get some really good freaking comedy with this show. Like you said, there's just a really good some comedic levity through Ricken's character, and even through some other characters at times. Like, still to this day, the funniest scene that I've ever seen on this show is a Milchick and Dylan scene. And I think I mentioned this to you earlier, where it's
Mhm.
it's at the end of season one when Dylan has locked himself in the control room and he's holding on to the overtime contingency, and he's got his tie kind of tying off the door to keep anybody from coming in. And Milchick is doing everything he can to cut this tie with his little dull knife. And he's promising Dylan the world while he's outside the door, trying to get him to open the door. He's like, I'll get you any perk you want, Dylan. We got these new coasters that just came in. I'll get you as many of them as you want, Dylan. I promise. It was just so funny. It was so surreal that it's like he's offering this guy all of these freaking perks in order for
Yeah.
him to open the door.
The
And
perks.
it was so good. It was just so funny. Like the way it was structured,
Yeah.
the way Milchick was just so desperately naming any perk he could think of. I'll get you these coasters, Dylan, right now. And
Ghost.
Dylan's like, I want to remember my son's birth, asshole. He's like, you got 2 others. I'll tell you the names, Dylan. Just open the door, Dylan. It's like, oh my God, this guy is so cooked. Yeah, that scene it still remains one of the funniest scenes I've seen because he's just you just see Milchick so desperate trying to offer him all these freaking perks. Um, that was a great scene. That was a
Yeah,
really good scene. Oh shit.
it really was.
Um, it was. And this is why I really like Milchick because I feel like he can cycle through so many different ranges of emotions and the drop of a hat. One minute he's, the corporate boss who's enjoying time with his employees, the weird, creepy, big smile that he puts on. Next thing you know, he looks like he wants to kill everybody. Like he can just
Yeah.
he can switch in the drop of a dime, this guy.
Yeah.
He really is a good actor. He's very much a good actor. The Avery
Yeah.
Tillman.
I love the interactions because now that you mentioned that, some of the funnest interactions that we have had are Mr. Milkshake and Dylan. They, I mean, he bit him, so that in itself, that was hilarious. And then when he fires him, he says, "Your enemy was involved in an altercation with another employee." It was him.
It was him.
Yeah,
He was the
the other
employee.
employee being me. Like, I tackled you, and you see him go out of the building with an ice bag over his head.
Yeah, we just see Outie Dylan just holding the ice bag on his head as he's walking out of the building, and Milchick just standing on the balcony above him, just watching him the whole time.
Yeah.
The show is so good. Like it's just such a good show. I'm so glad it came around when it did because again I love From. I usually I never get tired of talking about From, but we had covered so much From ground to the point where you don't want to start feeling repetitive. Like you're talking about the
Mhm.
same thing over and over and over again. You want, hopefully we try to make the streams fun where we do talk about different things every week. And when there's no new From content coming out, there's only so much you can talk about the end of season 3 before you start to feel like you're retreading old stuff. So yeah, I
Mhm.
think Severance came around at the perfect time. Season 2 has been phenomenal so far, and I love that we still have 8 more weeks of Severance. We still have 8 more episodes. PM. This season has just
My
started,
gosh.
right?
And they're
Oh my
so
god.
good. They just keep getting better. I thought like episode 1 for sure my favorite, but episode 2 just got better and better. And I think episode 3 and 4, it's I'm loving it. And I love that it is once a week. That way we can really like look at the episode and talk about it and watch it a
Yes.
billion times.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, not only do I like that as just a fan and as a viewer, but even more so from the YouTube standpoint, being able to just dissect one episode a week where, yeah, like you said, you can watch it multiple times to really catch all of the little things that you might have missed in the background the first viewing. You do have an entire week, excuse me, a whole week to dive into this thing and to really dissect it and kind of see what does this mean, what does that mean, what are they doing here, what are they setting up here, as opposed to just I'm not a big fan of when shows just drop all of their episodes at once. It's a little overwhelming. I'm not a big binge watcher myself. I do prefer to kind of just take my time, watch one episode at a time, rewatch the episode before I go on to the next one. Anytime I do a review for the channel, I always at least try to watch the episode 2 or 3 times before I
Mm.
even start my review because I want to be familiar. I want to make sure there's nothing I missed. I want to make sure I'm putting forth the best possible take I can. That's truly my take. So yeah, I'm just not a big fan when they drop all their episodes at once because then you got the entire fandom just on completely different pages where some people are watching them all right away. Some people are
Mhm.
watching them a little bit slower. You never know. You're never going to get everybody on the same page that's going to want to talk about the same episode at the same time when all of the episodes drop at once. But this, everybody is on the same page. The entire fandom is watching the exact same episode every week, like everybody else. So we always know
Mhm.
this is time to talk about episode 2. Next week will be time to talk about episode 3. The week after that will be episode 4, and so on and so forth. It adds a lot of structure to the YouTube standpoint, and it keeps the shows in the public zeitgeist for far longer as well. You see some of these shows on Netflix that just drop all their episodes at once. Even the really, really popular ones, like a Stranger Things or something really big,
Mhm.
you'll get people talking about that show for maybe a month at most, and then after a month is gone, that's it. Nobody's really talking about the show anymore because everybody watched all the episodes super fast and everybody's already done talking about it. But when you have a show like this, that's 10 episodes coming out 1 week at a time, that's 10 straight weeks, 2.5 months of the show being on every single week. That in and of itself just keeps it in the public zeitgeist
Mhm.
far longer, and you get that word of mouth that way where people start talking about it with their friends, other people start getting into it, the conversation gets bigger. So yeah, give me
Mhm.
weekly uploads any day over the binge model.
Oh, for sure. And then, of course, with obsessive people like us, then we start when the show is over, we start the rewatch and we'll do it all
Yep.
over again. And to that point, the Discord, guys, Jeremy has an amazing Discord. It's so much fun because you can watch the episode and you could go on Discord at any time and just like type in all of your thoughts, and there will be someone there that you can chat about the show with. So,
Mm.
Jeremy's Discord, if you are not on there, make sure to join because now he has a severance section of the Discord. And that's where we have been kind of like going back and forth, coming up
Mm.
with theories. It's always interesting and always fun.
It is, and thank you so much for that. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, we try to have fun in these things on the stream on these streams. We love diving into these shows, but the Discord is something that's there 24/7, any time of the day, any time of the night. Like PM said, you throw something into the Severance channel. Usually, there's going to be somebody else there talking some Severance or talking about something or dropping some kind of link to some behind the scenes in material or interview, or there's always something happening. So yeah, I love that the Discord has kind of become what it has become, where it's been really like a second home for the channel, really, when we're not live here talking about the shows that we like here on the stream. Then boom, you'll always have a place to kind of dive into it elsewhere. So I'm super appreciative to everybody in the Discord, everybody who's made the Discord as fun and popular as it has. I thank each and every one of you. I mean, I didn't do anything. All I did was set the thing up. You guys were the ones who made it active and made it a really fun place for the fandom to hang out. And not just this fandom, whether it's the From fandom, House of the Dragon, Shogun, Yellow Jackets, all the shows that we're going to be covering here on the channel. There's a channel for them, for each and every one of them in the Discord. But yeah, lately the Severance channel has been tons of fun. There's been a lot of good back and forth in there, some good theories, good ideas. And yeah, everybody is welcome to dive on in and have some fun in the Discord. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Now, before we get out of here, one thing we always usually love to do for every single episode we watch is our rating. What is our rating for season 2, episode 2, Goodbye, Mrs. Selvig? What would you guys rate this episode on a scale from 1 to 10, with 1 being horrible and 10 being perfect? Where would you guys score episode 2 of Severance? What score are you guys giving it? Let us know in the chat. Where do you rank episode 2 from 1 to 10? PM, what about you? Where would you, if you had to give this episode a rating, where would you rate episode 2 on a scale from 1 to 10?
Mhm. Well, disclaimer, I am quite generous. I tend to be. So I would say 9, but to a
Ooh,
normal person, maybe 8,
interesting.
but 9
Interesting.
for
Well,
me. I'm like generous. I
thank
love
you for that.
everything. I'm always like, oh my God, this is the best. So I wanted to say 10, but I'll say 9.
Okay. Okay. Both incredibly good scores. Absolutely. Yeah, for me, I'm trying to remember what I gave episode 1. And because I kind of want to give this the same as I gave episode 1, because it was a really good continuation. I think I gave an 8 to episode 1. So I gotta at least give this one an 8 as well, because again, I love how they structured the series for the beginning for these first 2 episodes, where episode 1 just told us the continuation of the Innie's storyline. After the whole macro data uprising, we finally get to see where the Innies went from there. And now here in episode 2, we got the exact opposite. We got only the continuation of the Outies after the whole macro data uprising. So for me, if I gave episode 1 an 8, I got to give this one an 8 as well, at least. Solid 8 for me, definitely.
Nice, makes sense.
Yeah, both great episodes. I mean, this has been such a good start to the season so far. I'm so glad that they picked up right where they left off. They haven't really lost any momentum for a show that's been off air for 3 years now almost. I gotta say, they picked up right where they left off, and it seems like they rejuvenated the entire fan base, where they just breathed some fresh life into it, and it seems like the fan base is right there where it left off, like it hasn't skipped a beat. So I gotta hand it to them. They're doing well.
Oh, for sure. I didn't notice a difference. And that's really what you want. When there's a long period of time in between, you're always hoping, like, don't change too much of it. Even with the actors, right? I hope that they look the same, that you can, like, immerse yourself into the world as it was. And not only is it as it was, but it's even a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a rich world. It really is set in such a phenomenally rich world. And one thing I really love about Severance and always have is the cinematography. The cinematography on this show is second to none. You see some of these widening landscapes, you've got a lot of wide angle shots, wide lens shots. And I think that's why we have such a long aspect ratio on the show, and sometimes that can be a little bit of a hindrance when you're doing YouTube, because YouTube has a very strict 4:3 aspect ratio. So it's a little bit different when you're doing videos, but it does make the picture look a lot crisper on screen, on TV, the way that they're doing it with this widening kind of lens angle that they usually tend to film with. And it just creates some of the best shots I've ever seen, whether it's shots of interiors or whether it's long, big shots of the buildings on the outside. Like these shots here of Heli, when you see the building and you see the giant parking lot, like this is good cinematography right here. This is really good. So I got to give them that. The cinematography, the filming of Severance is second to none. Like this show is filmed so well, so freaking well. And I love that. I love seeing some good old fashioned good cinematography. Like this is such a good shot right here. Seeing the the length of the table, the reflections in the mirror, and the window in the background. Like this is what good shots are supposed to look like, in my opinion. Good, clean, crisp shots. But yeah,
I would agree.
loving.
And how they pulled off having a helmet at the table. The helmet is very reflective, and they were able to film having a helmet reflecting the entirety of like one side, and you didn't see any cameras, you didn't see any like mistakes. Everything was shiny and crisp like that, the reflection. um I love that shot. That's a really good one.
It does look good, and like you said, sometimes you'll see in lesser productions, you'll see a little camera arm, a little reflection, reflection of a cameraman or something in the background. But it just looks totally organic, where the only reflection you see is the light on top of the table, right there in the visor. Like it's so realistic and it's done well. It's done proper. They went in and they really cleaned everything up as well as they could. And yeah, the cinematography really, really hits home because of it. Like, this is so good, even to the point where you can kind of see Mark's outline, Mark's reflection in the visor itself.
Mhm.
You can see Mark right there, like he's in it.
Mhm.
Like, it's really good, really, really
Yeah.
good. Great
And
stuff.
regarding the helmet, I did see in the chat, Kiwi was talking about the potential that there was a camera in the helmet. And I did also hear
Yes.
that from Igor. Igor from Geek Academy, he said that maybe there was a camera in the helmet, and that does make sense because the board would want to see the interactions, and the board would want to
Absolutely.
see if they said anything, right? So when I heard that, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
No, I think that makes perfect sense, especially with the nice kind of dark tinted lens on the helmet. And it was kind of weird the way he kind of strategically places it right. Whoever puts their helmet on top of a table like that, it's usually something you put on a chair next to you or you hang it up. He brings it right to the table and places it right down in the perfect angle if there was a camera inside there to see everybody at the table. So yeah, I could totally 100% buy that there could be a camera inside that helmet. I think that makes perfect sense. I mean, this is Milchick after all. This is Lumen after all. Hell yeah, they would want to see Mark's reaction, right? Like, absolutely. I could definitely buy
Mhm.
that for sure. Definitely buy that. I mean, they are they do tend to think of everything, these guys. They do tend to think of it all. Kiwi gives it a 6.5. Okay, that's all right. Not bad. Not bad. Nothing wrong with a 6.5. 8.5 from Xavier Anderson. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Really good score. We got another 8.5 from Susie. Solid score. 8.5 out of 10 for episode 2. We got David giving it a 9. Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. Looks like that is our highest score of the night in the chat. A 9 out of 10 from David for episode 2. And again, well done. It's well earned. I feel like both of these episodes to start the season off have been incredibly well written, incredibly well conceived, and incredibly well shot. Again, I love the shots that we get in some of these scenes. The cinematography really, really is next level on this show. So yeah, I am loving the season so far. They have been off to a phenomenal start. They definitely did not skip a beat. I was a little bit worried with them coming off such a long hiatus. I mean, almost 3 years is a very long time for a show to be off, and that's a very long time to ask a fan base to wait, really. I mean, fans are used to getting shows every year. All of a sudden, you're asking a fan base to say, "Hey, we need you to wait 3 years until the next show comes out." That's a lot. That's a lot to ask a fan base. That would be
Mhm.
totally understandable if a lot of fans didn't even come back to the show. But it seems like they did. Seems like everybody did. It seems like the show has picked up right where it left off. It seems like it's got tons of motivation right now, tons of momentum, and yeah, I am looking forward to episode 3, guys. We are going to be diving into the 3rd episode this Thursday night. But of course, there will be tons of other Severance content that we'll be doing right here on the channel between then and now. Our next stream will probably be Tuesday, maybe, where we'll do probably some episode 3 predictions. And then, of course, Thursday night, every Thursday night, we do our Severance pregame show where we hang out and wait for the new episode to drop. So we'll definitely be doing that this Thursday as well. And I will also be putting out my episode 3 predictions video, not a stream, but just my regular episode 3 predictions video that will be up on the channel most likely Tuesday, the latest. So definitely keep an eye out for that as well. And again, I want to thank everybody for joining us on this fine, fine evening. I want to thank all of the Sevies. Yes, indeed. We got the Sevies in the building, the Severance Sevies, which is so awesome. And I hope everybody is enjoying Severance Season 2 so far. We're off to, again, a phenomenal start. And I also want to thank the wonderful PM Philosophy for joining me on this fine, fine Saturday night evening. Thank you so much for being an awesome co-host. Love diving into these things with you.
Oh, thank you. It's always my pleasure talking Severance with you and the amazing chat. I say it all the time, but really, these are the best people. You have the best chat. All of you guys are awesome.
They really are super cool. I'm so thankful for all of the awesome people who come and hang out here with us and dive into these shows and share their time giving us your thoughts and your opinions and where you think the show's going to go. It really is the coolest chat in all of YouTube, and I cannot tell each and every one of you how thankful I am. You guys have been so supportive of everything that we've done here on the channel for a long time now. So I cannot thank each and every one of you enough. And that's why we will continue to go live each and every week, diving into all things Severance. And of course, Yellow Jackets Season 3 is just around the corner now, ladies and gentlemen. February 14th, this Valentine's Day, Yellow Jackets Season 3 will be hitting our screens, and that will be another show that we are going to be diving into head first, just like we have been Severance. I'm actually working on my Yellow Jackets trailer breakdown right now. I should have that done by Monday, the latest. That will probably be up on the channel. So any of our Yellow Jackets fans, definitely keep an eye out for that. We just got a phenomenal new Yellow Jackets trailer, and I'm seeing quite a few things that are pointing to a few things that I think we are going to see in Season 3, and all of that is going to be in my trailer breakdown video. So keep an eye out for that. Yellow Jackets just around the corner this February 14th. And of course, we will be continuing our extensive coverage of Severance Season 2 as well. So again, big thank you to each and every one of you guys. Stay safe out there in this crazy world we find ourselves in. Don't be afraid to keep those tinfoil hats on, folks, and we will see you all on the next one.